Welcome to the WAN show, guys. We are finally live. Apparently, I needed to set up a stream key because I hadn't configured one before, and for some reason, my Twitch credentials were not a thing. So, we have a fantastic show for you guys, and I know I always say that, but in reality, the goal over here is that we never bring you a terrible show.
We have pizza and graphics cards in this show.
Yeah, we have pizza, graphics cards, special guest Steve Gatto. I don't even know what I was going for there. Special guest Steve Dotto will be joining us in about 20 minutes. He's an industry veteran when it comes to tech broadcasting, so it'll be kind of interesting to get a bit of a different perspective. We brought on a lot of YouTuber guests, but Steve actually had his own TV show back in the day, so he does radio broadcast now, so that'll be pretty cool. Of course, the big topics this week, the R9 290 launched, and the GeForce GTX 780 Ti launch. Those were both huge graphics card launches, equally relevant, not like some of the ones we've had over the last little while where it's like, yay, the same thing with actually the same sticker. We didn't even change the sticker. There was a lot of that went on.
Yeah.
We've also got Call of Duty Ghosts is apparently terrible. I can't necessarily vouch for that one way or the other.
Neither of us have played it, but like, wow, the reviews.
The reviews are terrible. I mean, the thing is that I think a lot of the time gamers can be harsh about things that displease them.
And blow things out of proportion and blah, blah, blah.
And blow things out of proportion. I mean, there was the whole thing where President Obama's Facebook was getting spammed with people being upset about Valve not running a holiday Halloween thing. And I'm kind of looking at this going like...
Obama and like Volvo and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's like I understand your butthurt about Valve not doing a thing, but the cold hard truth is they don't have to, and President Obama doesn't care about that. So,
I hope he doesn't.
I hope he doesn't.
Focusing on more important things.
I hope Obama is focused on more important stuff.
Unless
like
he plays Dota.
Fixing all this NSA nonsense. Google actually has a couple employees that have been speaking out about the NSA. More on that in a moment. And I'll let you actually introduce a couple topics to at some point here. Or I could just keep talking. And you would never have an opportunity to say anything.
Go. Well, that's usually how the streams run. Well, not usually. Just most of the time. Which could be seen as usually.
You're so fired.
So our first topic, if you can bring it up on your laptop, is...
No, there were other topics to introduce. Nvidia Terga?
Oh, you talked for so long, I thought you got through them all.
No, I actually just got completely sidetracked.
Okay, so Nvidia Terga Note 7 is a thing, and it's an awesome thing. At I think only $200, you get a really nice IPS screen and like Nvidia Shield capabilities to certain degrees, which is like all I really need to care about that device for it to be awesome. And in fact, I think I said that it's already $200.
Yep.
And Microsoft promises to better the future of PC gaming, keyword, by getting rid of Windows Live. Games for Windows Live.
Yeah, which is already a huge step in the right direction. So without further ado, intro time! So guys, our sponsor for the show today is Squarespace. You can visit squarespace.com/Linus, and if you use offer code Linus11, you will get a 10% discount after your free trial. So Squarespace is the easy way to create a custom, professional-looking website for your blog, business, store, or whatever else you happen to need. And guys, stay tuned for the rest of the show because we are going to have a special giveaway to do with Squarespace later on, and we'll give you the full details. Those who were watching the pre-show will probably already know about it and are probably already flooding the Twitch chat with it, but...
Not too much so far, but it might be a delay, so I don't know.
Yeah, trust me, it'll be cool. It's going to be awesome. All right, so let's move into our first topic here.
Pizza.
Pizza.be/en. This is the most amazing website that I think anyone has ever seen, ever.
Oh, apparently you have to reselect your language, but that's okay.
So apparently manually navigating to /en doesn't actually make it English. But I'll let you explain what this is, because if you guys recall, last week on the stream, we had a pizza delivered in the middle of the stream, which was amazing, and it was from some of the guys on the forum. Thank you so much for that. But this takes it to a whole new level.
So these guys have a few websites around like Europe and Scandinavia and a few other places, the pizza dot whatever. And if you go to their website, if you live there, you can put in your address and it'll show all the different options for pizza, like all of them. that will deliver to your address. So say you live there, you can just be like, I want to try a new pizza place. My address. Oh, I have all of these options. Say you're a tourist, you can go to the website, select English, type in the address, which is possibly the only thing you know how to say in that country because it was written down for you. And you can have pizza delivered, which is sweet. I know multiple times that would have been helpful when I was visiting somewhere, could not speak the language and wanted to eat something, because that can actually be surprisingly difficult.
I just wanted a pizza.
I just want a pizza. So like it should be, this is the one for Belgium, and it should be this easy everywhere, but this is the only one I really know of. I think they have like a UK one and a Belgium one and a Netherlands one. I think that's it, and I just thought this was fantastic, so I wanted to share the awesomeness with everybody.
All right, so we have an article up next on Eurogamer.net, so let's go ahead and fire this baby up. Xbox One launch title devs on the Xbox One power debate, because if you guys have been paying any attention to PlayStation 4 versus Xbox One, the general consensus seems to be that PS4 has something like 50% more raw horsepower in terms of producing graphical stuff, and that could amount to as much as, I think the example I saw was Tomb Raider, where they were saying around a 25% better frame rate, like 25% better performance.
Yeah, there's extra headroom because the Xbox is doing all this other stuff all at the same time.
Right, because guys, the hardware inside them is actually very similar. It's just the way that it's being implemented. And remember too, though, that Xbox One has all of that cloud processing that it can throw at game developers in order to potentially...
But then there's certain issues with people having fast enough internet connections and all this other kind of stuff.
Of course. So, I mean, the experience might be better or worse for certain people. We don't actually know how that's all going to come out yet. But anyway, the article has them quoted saying, it's less to do with the specs and more to do with what you do with those specs. So let's go ahead and have a look at sort of some of the examples of what they're doing with said specs. So, Dead Rising 3, 720p, 30 FPS. Forza Motorsport 5, 1080p, 60 FPS. Okay, that's good. That is how if you're going to call something next generation, that is how every single next generation thing should be running, because 1080p, 60 FPS ain't next generation for the PC gamers out there.
No, that's like acceptable.
That's like, okay, yeah, that looks all right. But I mean, the thing about something like Forza is racing games have already looked about as good as they're going to look for like 5 years. I mean, have you seen dramatically improved visuals in a racing game in the last few years compared to something like Grid?
Just because everyone's making them for consoles.
Well,
it could look better if it's on a PC.
Okay, it could look better if it's on, but there's not that much you can do. You can make the cars shinier. I mean, look at what they do in Need for Speed. It's like, add all the reflections.
But you could add detail to the road. You could add detail to anyone that's watching on the side of the road. Like, the cars are highly detailed.
But in theory, you're moving so fast that the detail of the dude standing there...
But as you slow down at the finish line, you'll notice, like, they can make changes,
Everyone works pretty hard on, like, the chick that walks between the cars and is like... waves around the thing and then, work on jiggle physics or whatever else they're going to do, because that's what apparently gamers want, according to game devs. No idea where they got that idea. So they work on certain things, but yes, they could improve the visual fidelity, but in terms of the actual racing experience, the trees already look great. The
pretty good.
Landscapes already look pretty good. Landscapes haven't been that demanding for a while, especially when you're going along at 250 miles an hour.
But they could add more grass and stuff.
They could add more grass. Really, look at what you're asking for. They could add more grass.
They have to find places to improve. We've had this thing forever. When you double polygon count, it becomes less noticeable over time.
Yes.
Diminishing returns of noticeable improvements. So they have to find places to improve. That is somewhere that they could improve.
Basically, a racing game is pretty easy to optimize for, is what we're trying to say, because short of adding more grass, there's not much that remains to be done in terms of improving the visual fidelity. So that one runs at 1080p 60 FPS. Next up, we've got Rise Son of Rome running at 900p 30 FPS. So it couldn't quite make it at 1080p. It needed 900p, which 900p upscaled to 1080p is actually not going to look that bad. And then Kinect Sports Rivals, really a Kinect game that runs at 1080p 30 FPS. Kinect Sports game, 1080p 30 FPS. So to me, I'm looking at this kind of going, okay, you can talk about how it's less to do with specs and more to do with what you do with them, but your specs are horrible. Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 launched with compelling, truly next-generation specs. Or at least...
PlayStation 3's processor was like interesting. Hard to harness, but interesting.
But very interesting and very powerful. Whereas Xbox One and PS4 are coming in pretty far behind the 8 ball from the very start. And I think looking at the settings that these games, that really from again, so even looking at last generation console games and the way that they ran on PC, we're not looking at any kind of improvement in fidelity compared to that. And there's a lot of talk about how consoles will get much better over time in terms of what the developers can squeeze out of them.
Which is
and
true.
A great example of that is Grand Theft Auto 5. It looks
Yep.
absolutely fantastic compared to almost anything else that you can even play on an Xbox 360. And yet
the thing is, they're starting so far behind right now. Like before, they tried really hard, so they got kind of close, to be completely honest, to what a lot of people were getting on a PC experience.
Yep.
Now they're starting so far behind at the start that by the time they catch up, we'll all be so ridiculously far ahead that it will again not matter.
With that said, the pace of development of PC hardware has slowed down a lot.
This is very
and we've
true.
noticed that. I mean, there hasn't been a reason to upgrade your CPU in almost 4 years.
I'm not going to talk too much about it, but the fact that I got under 30 FPS average running with the like baller sauce card from Nvidia at 2560 by 1600 actually, while it ran it very well in comparison to other cards, I was still like, I'm really not that impressed. I want one that's like twice as good, literally.
Yep, and we're not seeing that same pace of development anymore, but there's technical difficulties. We did talk about that a little bit
definitely.
on last week's show.
Yeah.
All right, so we got a couple of our quick topics here before we jump into our guest segment, which will be in about 10 minutes.
Another quick thing I actually want to add about that previous topic was there's a quote saying the load screens isn't a bullet point that any gamers are going to be like, sweet about. Sweet no load screens about. What?
Speaking of no load screens, though, hold on. Yeah, and yeah, gamers care about no load screens, by
Like
the
that
way.
was a huge thing in GTA 5. Everyone was like, yeah, big initial load screen, but then none after that, which is awesome.
So speaking of load screens, the PlayStation 4 has been confirmed with a teardown. I think he's like their head of technical something or other. I can't remember. I don't think it's actually in here as a story, but it's maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Anyway, so actually, you know what? Control F PS4, because I thought maybe it was in here.
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
PlayStation. Yeah, no, it's not in here. Anyway, so they did an official teardown, and what they revealed is that the 2.5-inch drive inside can be replaced with any 2.5-inch drive.
I thought that's old news.
Even an SSD, though.
Ooh,
Yes.
that's interesting.
So that's cool. Bye-bye, load screens. Bye-bye. See ya.
That's actually really interesting.
Yes.
I can't wait. Modding consoles.
Yes, 1 terabyte SSD in PS4. I mean, you'd be spending twice as much on that SSD as you spent on the console in the first place. But you'd be having, again, so anything that makes a console more like a PC makes it better. So I was really excited to hear about that.
That's really interesting. I had actually, I hadn't heard of that.
That is
before.
such an uncharacteristically Sony modder-friendly thing to do that I thought was incredibly cool.
Probably wasn't intentional.
Well, can we give them the benefit of the doubt here?
Sure.
Maybe, you know.
I still don't really think it was intentional. but sure, I'll give them benefit of the doubt.
All right, we'll give them benefit of the doubt.
Got a rapid fire topic.
All right, rapid fire topic number 1 here.
Are we going to do a Twitter blitz before the guests?
Yeah, guys, hit us with a few Twitter questions. We'll do a Twitter blitz in the last 5 minutes before the guest, but we have one of our rapid fire topics here. Did you know that the iPhone 2G is a collector's item? So the article here is from, no idea how to pronounce this, but tuao.com, and it was posted on the forum by Carl Iskra. And someone is trying to sell an iPhone 2G for an asking price of $2,000. There are folks asking as much as $5,000 for unopened units.
I think that is a sealed new in box.
Yeah, so this one's sealed new in box for $2,000. Now, let's talk about the collector mentality a little bit for a second here, because I think you and I both looked at this and went, what, are they high?
Yeah.
But
I sat down and thought about it for a little bit later, and while I wouldn't spend $2,000 on any of these things, I still go out and buy very old school cartridge games.
yeah, like he bought a Power Glove not that long ago.
Yeah, I bought
And
a
how much
Power
did you
Glove.
pay for that?
$20.
Okay, that's a really good deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm not going to spend $2,000 on anything.
No, not 2,000, but would
For
you pay, okay, for
$30. It was not. It was under 50. I know
classic
that.
SNES game. Let's talk like Donkey Kong Country new in box. What's that worth to you personally?
To me, I'd spend a bit on it, not $2,000.
But more than it was worth when it was new.
Probably.
Right, because I would say, okay, new in-box Donkey Kong Country got to be worth at least a few $100, probably more.
I don't know if I'd spend
'Cause it's a
$200
classic.
on it, but it's probably worth at
I'd
least
probably
that much.
pay $100 for it. Like, I'd pay more than retail.
I'd probably be somewhere around there.
If you look at something like the iPhone and kind of go, okay, well, it revolutionized things. I mean, you look at how much original Apple IIs will go for. If you can find an Apple II that's, mint condition,
new box, like, so much money.
So much money. So it's kind of game changing. The only thing that bothers me about this is it really wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, and like
I mean, that's the problem. I got no problem with collecting, and I got no problem with paying more than sticker price.
like I can very clearly remember when that came out.
But this was like 5 years ago. I mean, like I have clothing that's older than the iPhone.
I have lots of clothing that's older.
Most of my clothing is older than the
Me
iPhone.
too. That's funny. Yeah, that's what kind of blew my mind about it. And yeah, I don't know. I understand the collector mentality, but like, jeez.
Okay, so this was posted by Top War Gamer on the forum. Bill Gates says internet connectivity, doesn't mean much if you're dying of starvation. And while I agree to a great extent, because I know this came up a little while ago when Google was planning their whole internet connected blimps floating over developing countries thing, so everyone could have connectivity. So it came up a little while ago, him saying something similar, but is it really fair to take shots at guys who are trying to improve the information infrastructure in these regions? Yes, food and yes, disease control is important, but we have to move forward in all these ways. And a big part of the problem in many developing countries is lack of knowledge. Fear of things like vaccines, for example, is a huge obstacle to the people who are trying to give vaccines and clean water and give aid to these people. So, I mean, while I don't necessarily think that every starving African child needs a laptop and an internet connection, I think having community internet connection is critical, but I also agree with them 100% that it is not a replacement for food, clean water, disease control, and all these kinds of things.
Like I said in the notes, but a multi-pronged approach is probably the best thing. You can't just improve one thing at a time, or else it'll take infinite amount of time.
I mean, a great way of looking at that is if you gave everyone all the food and then no water, then it's not like you've actually helped them in any way. They need food, water, shelter.
And keeping... Oh, this is going to maybe sound brutal, but like if you cure them all of malaria, they still need to be able to develop their country. And one of the fastest ways they're going to be able to do that is being able to have access to the internet so they can learn things very quickly and work on developing the area around them.
I mean, education is something that we can all agree is important. You know, you look at building schools in Africa or in other developing nations or continents. I'm sorry, Africa's not a nation. I know that, trust me. So you look at building schools and you kind of go, yeah, that's really important and that's expensive. So then, yes, internet access in my mind is important because we're not talking about playing Angry Birds or Flash games on Newgrounds.com. We're talking about having access to knowledge.
Like research websites, Wikipedia, all this kind of stuff so you can learn. Well,
all
Wikipedia
right.
might not
So
be citable, it's still helpful.
Let's go ahead and have a look at what we've got for our Twitter Blitz. We've got a few minutes here before we pull in Steve Dotto.
I mean, if you want to bet it's all like R9 290 and 780 Ti.
Yeah, don't worry, guys. We will talk about it.
Yep, first one.
First. Oh,
well, second one, sorry.
Second one. All right, it's doing that thing where I can't scroll down because it's
Sweet.
Twitter and Chrome for some reason just hates its life. So I just gotta wait. I just gotta wait and be a patient guy.
We can do it verbally. So the second comment here, which isn't quite on stream yet.
Page unresponsiveness. Genius.
Now I can't read it.
There we go. All right. Oh, wow.
Did it go past? Oh.
Okay, here we go. Christopher, go.
Worth the wait for the 800 series in your personal opinion, or splurge for the 780 Ti, which may lose its value soon? That really depends on how you want to see things. I'm probably going to be waiting for the 800 series just because I'm interested in the new architecture, but the 780 Ti is a beast machine, so I don't know. This kind of stuff, like, it's always impossible, because if you just wait for everything, you could just be waiting for everything forever, because things are released so quickly. So
wow.
Yeah.
Twitter is being worse than usual. It's like actually a problem. Oh, here we go. Okay, H220 still the best AIO cooler, or is there something else? I believe there's a triple model, but other than that, yeah, it's still about as good as it gets for a dual model. I like the old unboxing intro. Cool. Do you think it's going to be long until AMD comes out with a solution like G-Sync? They haven't talked about it at all, so no idea, but I really hope that they either license G-Sync or come up with their own competing solution. Preferably, I would like to see everyone using the same thing, and there'll be a little bit more about this later when we talk about Mantel versus G-Sync versus PhysX, and how I really feel it's unfair to the gamer that when they buy a game, they actually can't have the complete experience no matter what hardware they have.
Yeah.
Without having like 2 PCs and then sitting and playing the game side by side at each of them. Well, here I can see the physics effects.
Take one step and then like slide over and take another step.
Here I get true audio for better immersion. Like we're you know what? You could have
if you played the whoa yeah
a display that takes 2 inputs, so you could actually overlay. Oh yeah.
And
it wouldn't work, trust me, we
like
know.
Keyboard mapping, so you can play on 2 different machines at the same time, and then the true audio, so you have your headphones plugged into the one.
Yeah. Best photo editing monitor for $200 to $300. Check out the Asus ProArt series, although frankly, for actual real color work, especially if you're doing any printing, sorry man.
10-bit.
Which case in the $100 to $140 range should I get? I'm using an H100 and planning to get a custom loop in the future.
You can get an R4 for in there.
Yeah, or Arc MIDI R2 would be a good choice if you're going custom water cooling. The PS3 since day one had a replaceable hard drive that could be easily swapped. Well, there you go. Great. So the PS4 continues that proud tradition, and apparently the PS3 one could be an SSD as well. So there you go.
Didn't know that. Wasn't super into consoles.
Yeah, it is. It is what it is. 3 must-have free games and 3 must-have paid games. Okay.
I think that was a question. What are 3 of each?
Okay. What do you think about the new YouTube comments? Oh, trust me, we'll be talking about that actually with our guest here in a moment. First time watching from the UK. Just got a K70 with Browns after watching your unboxing.
Nice. So
good job.
Probably like the majority of our views on that if you watched it 35,000 times.
How's an A10 6800K with Radeon? Doesn't matter for Crossfire. No Crossfire. Do not run an APU with a graphics card. Okay, let that sink in for a minute. Buy an APU that doesn't have as good of an onboard graphics card and buy a better graphics card. Pick up a 7770. There's no excuse for not just saving $30 on the APU. So the 6790K I think is coming in a couple weeks. Grab one of those, grab a 7770, boom. Same price, much better performance. I really never recommend APU Crossfire yet. Who are you guys rooting for in WCS Finals? I'll let you field that. I don't even know who's playing. I don't follow pro gaming at all.
I've spent so much time with benching lately. I haven't been able to.
Oh yeah, he's hardly slept this week.
Yeah.
From the UK, I want to get an R9 290, but Nvidia GTX780 is tempting because of shadow play. What to get? Is it worth the money? Well, if you were planning to have a dedicated capture PC, or you were planning to buy an additional capture card device, then the 780 starts to really show its value. With that in mind, Shadowplay doesn't work with everything. No OpenGL support. There was something else that was critical.
Minecraft.
Doesn't support actually live streaming to Twitch yet. It's not quite there yet. So if you can wait a little bit longer, then great.
We had some audio issues with it, but I don't know if that's going to be a thing.
I have no idea.
Fix it. It's in beta right now.
And we were using beta drivers.
We're using beta drivers.
Pre-release drivers for the graphics card.
With beta Shadowplay.
With beta Shadowplay, so we don't know.
So,
all right.
Yeah.
So let's call that it for that particular Twitter Blitz, and let's bring on our guest, Steve. We are bringing you in now. Welcome to the show. How are you, Steve?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
We are fantastic. So we've got a few great topics to discuss, but I'd like to start with having you just introduce yourself to the audience if they haven't already heard of you, and tell us about where they can find you and what you're all about.
Well, for 15 years I hosted and produced Dotto Tech, which was a nationally syndicated TV show here in Canada, so all of your international viewers are probably going, who the heck is that? And that's fair enough, but most of the Canadian viewers or listeners should know who I am. So it was a how-to computer show back in the day, when we showed people how to upgrade their modems from 14.4 to 28.8. It was awesome stuff. And we did that for a good long time, and then stopped doing it a few years back, and I've kind of shifted my emphasis now to online. I've got a small, by your standard, YouTube channel. I still do my how-to stuff, and a radio show that we produce each week. And I do a lot of public speaking, talk about the social impact of technology and that kind of stuff. So they can find me at dottotech.com or at YouTube/dottotech.
All right, now I've got a Dottotech Season 5 episode here that I'm going to go ahead and pull up. Hold on a second. Let me just. Oh,
I feel
yeah.
like I've been punked.
Oh, this is great. Hold on. You guys are going to love this. Okay, here we go.
Oh, my.
Look at that computer. It's awesome.
All right, Steve. I'm not gonna make you suffer too much. I hate watching old stuff of myself as much as anyone does.
Oh, we lost sound when you did that, unfortunately.
Oh, unfortunately,
It was fresh.
they lost sound. Okay, well, guys, it's epic. It's epic. But let's start with talking about some of the ways that new media has changed the way that you've seen interaction with audiences and changed the way that you used to do things. I mean, for one thing, the equipment required and the expense has decreased significantly since you first started up. I don't hear Steve right now.
We just chalked.
We just what?
Disconnected and reconnected.
Oh, sorry guys, we just disconnected and reconnected. What wireless network are you on?
I can't change to the other one, remember?
Oh, you can't change to the other one. Right, that's fantastic. Okay, so we'll have Steve back in just a moment here. So this is the most sort of brilliant thing ever that I'm super thrilled about right now. Okay, so I've got a hotspot up. Go ahead and connect to me if you can. Here, let's...
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. Okay, Xperia? Yep, I'll enter the password. Oh, I think you missed there. Misclick, connect, whoa!
I knew that one.
Oh, you have that memorized?
Yeah.
Wow, okay, I'm surprised. Alright, so once we get connected here, we should be good to go.
I think the stream actually went down for a little bit too.
Nope, we haven't dropped any frames.
Okay, cool.
So in theory, we are still completely streaming, 100%. Everything is streaming. We just need to get Steve back on here.
Need to actually be on the internet on the laptop, which would be super helpful.
Wait, what? Portable hotspot, blah, 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 discoverable, power safe.
Linus portable hotspot tips.
No internet access on the portable hotspot? You have to be kidding me.
Linus mobile configuration tips.
Okay, that could actually be a small problem. So I'm going to get you to do a couple rapid fire topics while we get Steve back. I'm just going to pop my SIM into another phone because I just discovered something about the Xperia Z1 that I'm incredibly not impressed about. So it looks like it has a little bit of trouble sharing that 3G data in its default configuration. So, all right.
Oh, hey.
Whoa, are we?
Am I back?
Yep.
Oh, we're back. Okay. Woo! So it just took a minute there. All right, Xperia Z1, you're safe.
I'm sure glad it's you guys doing that.
It's good to see it from the other side.
That used to be me doing that stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so Steve, welcome back to the
well, I
show.
can just sit back and relax.
So speaking of inexpensive
thanks for having me on,
equipment,
guys.
speaking of inexpensive equipment and the way that it has made this kind of broadcast more accessible, how do you think that's really changed the dynamic? Even though it doesn't always work 100% of the time.
You know, and it doesn't matter that it doesn't work 100% of the time. It's so universal now. You know, a half-hour TV show that we used to produce that you would have seen there was about a total of about 35 people who touched that show from start to finish. Be it cameramen, floor directors, audio guys, you know, the whole team. And it would cost us anywhere from the neighborhood of, and we were really cost efficient, it'd cost us $35,000 or $40,000 an episode to produce a half hour of content, which there was, 22 minutes of real content, and so 5-6 product demos, $40,000. How does that sound as far as value compared to what you can produce now, right? Or what we can produce just with a simple screencast, or you guys do with your daily unboxing videos.
It's amazing when you talk about a budget like $30,000-$40,000. I look at that and I go, yeah, that will run LinusTechTips for weeks. Like weeks upon weeks and hours upon hours of content.
And we used to have the sponsors to support it because there was no channel to do anything else. So although the quality and the technical issues, they aren't what we produce today is not what we call broadcast quality for network television. It's still the content and the message is just as valuable, and it's just far more democratic as far as getting it out. But the audience has changed so much. I mean, we talk about all the changes in the economic model of sponsorship and streaming, and how we fund these different products. The bottom line is our audience has changed from viewers who were passive and would sit down there and turn us on and watch us on TV to now we have a relationship with them. I mean, you guys have this fantastic comment stream going live while you're broadcasting your show, which means everybody's completely engaged. You can have a conversation with them. That to me is the most exciting part of the whole thing. There's just extra layers of dynamics that really go far beyond whatever we lose as far as the odd technical glitch or the fact that the audio isn't quite as good as it used to be.
So did you guys record an entire season of Dotto Tech at a time and then just have to kind of sit there and wait to figure out if anyone even liked it and then back to the drawing board for the next season?
Oh, why would we care if people liked it or not? It's that the sponsors liked it. That was what counted. I'm being a little bit crass there, but the bottom line was that was my customer. It was Microsoft and it was Symantec and it was Adobe. That was my customer. Now I did a good job of paying attention to what the viewers liked, but that was a luxury. That wasn't the essential part of the business. We produced the show. We would start production in August for a delivery in September. And it took us, and so we would produce about 2 shows a week until just around Christmas time to get our 13 shows in, and between 1 and 2 shows per week. And in the way that I worked the shifts in the later days when we were at City TV in Vancouver is we worked in a 4-hour shift. So in a 4-hour shift, I would always try and get about 25 minutes of content done, which would give us a single show. And we tried to work it out like that. And then we had a couple of extra shifts overall. So we would do it in about 13 days in studio to do 13 episodes.
Wow. It's so different.
A lot more prep.
I mean, for us.
Oh, and we had teleprompters. Yeah. Oh, it's, in some of the skills are the same, but the production techniques are so different. I mean, things that we take absolutely for granted today. I mean, it felt like we were breaking new ground back in the day. When we first started doing our show in 1995, we were showing products like Windows 95 and the Mac OS early days. We actually had 3 broadcast cameras focused on a single LCD monitor that we'd figured out how to mirror the display. And I mean, we think nothing of mirroring a display today, but in those days, it's really cool the fact that we could take a video card and we could make the same image appear on 2 different devices at the same time. And our first LCD display that we bought was around $6,000 for a 7.5-inch display that we would get, but we were only dealing with 640 by 480 resolution. And then we had 2 cameras, one locked off in a long shot and a full screen shot, and another one that went in tight on the menus and followed the puck as I was doing my demos. And I actually choreographed it with the camera guy on this huge camera. And it was a studio camera. It's one of the ones that you see on, in the old TV shows. The camera weighed like 700 pounds on a pedestal, right? And he would actually move in and dolly around on the screen. You just use moving that huge camera, just a microscopic amount to follow me in a close-up on the screen as I was showing a drop-down menu to show how to save a file or change a font. But that was what differentiated our show from the others, is that you could see the screens. And remember, then we were in standard definition television. This was all going out into standard definition with, really low resolution out to screens. I mean, there was probably people watching on black and white TVs. I'm not sure, but it could have been. And at any rate, for us, that attention to detail and explanation, that was one of the things that set our show apart and gave us the legs to last for 15 years.
Right. So now it's completely different because
If we don't pump out one every single day.
No.
yeah, we have to pump content, and the other thing is we can't really give much thought at all to what our sponsors think about things. I mean, some of our sponsors are guys like Corsair, Intel, AMD is actually, we're going to start rolling ads for them starting in probably about a week or two, and that doesn't mean that our show can't contain criticisms of these guys, because it absolutely has to. The audience has gotten so savvy, and they've got the ability to interact with you so quickly and interact with each other so well that if you were to say something that, for whatever reason isn't true or somehow misleads them or, blows sunshine up a sponsor's butt, you will get destroyed immediately. Yep. It's like game over for you. The content creators have a completely different approach to how they interact with their audiences.
And when you go back 20 years, the world was not, we didn't have that dialogue. That's where that audience dialogue, it creates much more accountability. But in those days, we weren't quite the men world, but I would go to my sponsors, 3, 4, 5 months before we tape the shows, and we would be discussing what stories they wanted to have promoted. So I would know their product map, a year in advance, and I'd be under NDA for them as far as what products were coming down the pipe. And I had to deal with them. I mean, the thing is that we established, one thing I'm proud of is we established a lot of credibility in the space, which I still maintain today.
Right.
But a part of that credibility came from, there was times when I had honest conversations with sponsors and saying, I don't like this product. I can't tell a good story about it. I don't feel right about it. And they always said, yeah, we get it. And they didn't want to undermine the credibility of our product. So even though we were definitely bought and paid for, I made sure that I didn't do reviews, but instead I showed how the technology fit in our lives, so I could always add value to the technology that way. Right. And that's how we kind of skirted around that issue. I in some ways that was, it was nice to have just that one customer that I had to keep happy back in the day. And so, but in a lot of ways, I think what you guys are doing is just as challenging now, because you can make an honest mistake. You can think something's cool, or you can not fact check as well as you probably should, but how can you when you're producing 5 or 6 shows a week, and then make a little mistake, and all of a sudden, between the Twitter sphere and everything else, it gets completely blown out of proportion, and you're all of a sudden playing defense in an area where you've got some people that like you, some people that don't like you, a lot of people that are jealous of you, and they're just looking for weakness to come after you. So you've got some really incredible challenges as well.
It's a lot of fun, though.
One thing actually that I noticed, he said he coordinates with sponsors like 4 or 5 months beforehand. Like Linus coordinates with sponsors sometimes like 4 or 5 hours beforehand. It's like, oh, there's a WAN show coming. Yeah. If you want to get on that sponsorship,
I mean,
nice.
we'll receive a new product. We'll receive our briefing, if we're lucky, a week before it launches.
Yeah, that's lucky.
And then we'll have the product in hand with software that makes it work, like maybe 3 or 4 days beforehand.
Sometimes we'll get a driver a day before it releases.
This is the world we live in today. I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, you and I live in a YouTube world where we do an awful lot with Google. And I can't imagine a world like 15 years ago, us talking about a product that was put out and never became anything but beta, with 0 technical support and 0 documentation, yet given out and been embraced by the whole world with almost no support or no thought of support behind it. And I mean, that's one of the most profound changes that we see is, the web delivery of tools like Gmail or like YouTube. I mean, trying to figure out things on YouTube to how to do anything that's of a technical nature, it's just a voyage of discovery for each of us.
Which, by the way, guys,
you do some things right, you do some things wrong, and
viewers, by the way, don't worry. We are talking with Steve about the integration of Google Plus and YouTube. That's coming next. Anyway, sorry, go ahead, Steve.
But well, in what you guys just went through with the technical glitch here, I guarantee you that this software that you're using, I've never used it before, but I bet you there's almost no documentation on it. And there's probably, you probably just kind of, you say, oh, what happens if I click on this? And you've gone through that whole process very often with it. And oops, I shouldn't have clicked on that because bad things happen then. Well, that never used to happen for us. So it's a much faster moving world where you really have to be much lighter on your feet And I also have a really thick skin because it's really easy to take a misstep.
All right, let's talk about Google Plus and the way that YouTube and Google have crammed the integration of Google Plus down our throats. On YouTube, the world's either number 2 or number 1, can never remember which one it is, search engine. So basically, for those of you who haven't been in the loop over the last couple days, I'll sync you up. So Google has been prompting us when we log into YouTube periodically to change our names, use our real names, link to a Google Plus account, and do all of these things for actually quite some time now. And up until now, up until I believe it was yesterday, for most people, you could just click ignore. For some reason, Steve's...
He's on continuous transmission. It's picking up something in the background.
Oh, Steve, you got something in the background there. I don't know what it is, but hopefully it's...
my dog just ran through. Was that it?
Okay, it's better now. Okay, anyway. So now, as of about... Nope, we're good. As of about yesterday, Google Plus is required in order to leave a comment on a YouTube video. So this is YouTube, Google's sneaky, underhanded way to go, okay, you want to join a giveaway on YouTube, you want to talk to your favorite content creator, you want to do anything, you want to interact, you want to find someone who's wrong on the internet and correct them, you will need a Google Plus account. So Steve, let's hear your thoughts on this. What's the impact here?
Yeah. You don't sound at all biased on it.
I ain't happy, man. I ain't happy.
I'm not unhappy. I think, and it shows that I'm 30 years older than you or 25 years older than you. It's the old guy syndrome. Some accountability has to be made on this damned internet. It can't be this wild and open thing that it is. But no, really, for me, when I first saw community in my channel, it was about a month ago that I first started getting a hint that this was coming myself.
Yeah.
And they released community. Do you remember the day that you saw that little community badge in your YouTube feed?
Yeah, I kind of went, oh, really? It's coming, eh?
I went, oh, really? I didn't go, oh, really? Because it gave me an opportunity to begin to have a dialogue with my viewer base. Because to me, YouTube subscriptions had always been nothing more than Facebook likes as far as long-term value. Because I couldn't really talk to the people who were subscribing to my YouTube channel. I could deliver video to them, but really the relationship was no different than what I had with viewers on TV. I didn't have a real good, they could post occasionally online, but I didn't really know them. And there wasn't an active conversation in my channel. Now my experience might be a little different than yours. So I would always try and drive people off of YouTube wherever I could onto my own blog site, so that I could capture their information into an email list, so that I could have a conversation with them, and at some point, so that I could perhaps maybe sell them something downstream, because that's how I choose to make a living. So this opportunity all of a sudden to see their real Google Plus profile, to have a name attached, to be able to include them in a circle, and now to be able to start to have a conversation with them in this channel, that to me was really exciting. And it more than anything else, I didn't think this was an insult to the people, to the people's privacy who were, subscribing to our channel or chatting. I thought this was the biggest in-your-face Facebook move that Google has done in a long time.
Yeah. One thing that I worry about, he said there, like, the older mentality, like you shouldn't be able to hide behind things. It also worries me, though, because if you say something that's an opinion, even if it's a widely accepted opinion, if someone disagrees with it, they can find your Google Plus page, and using certain things that they find on your Google Plus page, you can find more information about you. It's surprisingly easy to find someone's address, to find someone's phone number, to do all that kind of stuff nowadays with how connected everything is. So that little bit of anonymity, while it carries in really annoying things like massive amounts of trolling and people fighting constantly, I think also protects us from some possible issues. Like, I don't want someone knocking on my door with a baseball bat because they're pissed off because of something I said on the internet.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing too for me is it's not necessarily about people who disagree with unreasonable stuff. Like if you were to come out and say, all sheep need to die and we should kill all the sheep, or something along those lines.
I'm sorry, New Zealand.
And someone in your country, or someone in another country disagree or agrees with you, but in their country that's not a widely held opinion. And even though or even if you had a perfectly reasonable opinion, like, t-shirts that are made out of cotton are great, but if in some country a t-shirt made out of cotton is illegal and someone there agrees with you, and then all of a sudden they're
Steve,
being
can you say something real
persecuted.
quick?
I'm sorry?
if he says something, it constantly picks something up in the
Sorry?
background.
Oh.
If he says something, it autocorrects to where his voice is, and then he doesn't pick up.
Oh yeah, I think your mic's automatically adjusting gain. So when you don't say anything for a while, it just tries to find you.
Yeah,
So it raises the levels. So okay, so what about the privacy that does need to be
Do you want me
protected?
to just hum in the background lightly?
That sounds wonderful.
There's a, that's I hadn't thought about it from that perspective, to be honest. You guys have brought a different aspect into focus, and to be, if from Google's perspective, if I was to speak for them, I don't think that they care.
No,
frankly,
that's
about
been
that
very clear.
perspective. I think what they care about is the fact that they want people to sign up for a Google Plus account. They want to be able to give the content providers a sense of access to their community, and it's all going to be about downstream monetization. I mean, the one thing we haven't seen in Google Plus is a monetization model for content publishers, not
Right.
within Google Plus. We've seen it within YouTube, we've seen it within Facebook, we haven't seen it within Google Plus. And I still don't necessarily see how it's exactly going to resolve through this move, but it's another step down that road. And so I imagine that the community I imagine that the reason that they've done it now is YouTube is so powerful and so strong. I can't imagine a startup network competing with it very easily right now. And that's probably a part of their game plan, is they wanted to push this out at a time when it was going to be difficult for somebody to have an option, because really at the end of the day, what are our options? What is the consumer's option, and what is our, as a content provider's option? Are you going to start pushing through Vimeo and say, I can turn Vimeo into, are you going to reach your 500,000 subscribers through Vimeo? No, we are tied at the hip to these guys now.
Yep, and that's one of the reasons that I object so much to the Google Plus integration, because up until now, I have had a choice how I want to engage with my viewers. I have been able to say I want to engage with you on Twitter, or I've been able to say I want to engage with you by email. Steve, quick, say something.
Yes, I'm going to talk right now.
Good. Okay. I've been able to engage with them.
Do you want me to adjust the settings here on this at all?
Let's not worry about it for now. Let's sort of get through here.
Yeah.
But okay, so I've been able to choose how I want to engage with them on my own website, on Twitter, whatever else, and my viewers have been able to choose how they want to engage with me. And what YouTube and Google are doing is they're taking the choice away from us.
I think, can you hear me still?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Because I just adjusted one thing. Is that still working?
Yep.
Yeah, you're good.
Good. I set up push to talk, I think. Okay. It'll be interesting to see if, based on backlash, if there is an opt-out provision for any sort of individual, any of their channel partners, because where that's going to come from and what Google will eventually listen to is not to the great unwashed Google Plus users. They're going to listen to the content providers that they're making money from. So the people like yourself who have a channel, who are providing the content and providing the eyeballs into Google, into YouTube that Google so desires. So the pushback from you guys and from us, and whether or not we ask for an opt-out option for our channels, or if they're going to come up with a different a privacy channel. They've incorporated privacy into Chrome. You can browse the web in private.
Yeah, that's true.
They understand. They've got the ability to create privacy layers, and they obviously understand those issues. So it's gonna, as is always the case with Google. I mean, the way that they do things is they put it out there, float it, listen to what's happening, and then react to what the reaction of the marketplace is. They're very different from the old school companies, the Apples and the Microsoft, that tell you the way that you should be doing things. They're very reactive. They'll put it out, float it for a little while, see what happens, because they can pull it. They could pull it. It wouldn't shock me if in 3 months from now it was pulled back and we didn't see it again for another 3 months after that, and it came back in another form.
I would be very surprised if they do that, because particularly on YouTube, they have taken quite a we're going to put it out there and you're going to like it approach. And they listen to even content creators my size. So I think in terms of sheer subscriber base, I'm around number 1,300 on the YouTubes, which is pretty darn respectable. and yet I have absolutely no voice. I have no contact with anyone at Google or YouTube, and I am basically completely ignored. I will either like it or I will leave, and I will suffer because of the way, again, I am tied to the hip to Google. So
we see this happening even more now, though, with the closed garden that they have on the mobile side, and with the basically closed garden that they have on YouTube now. Like they're beginning to just ignore all and tread forward, and it's not their previous mentality. And I don't know how it's going to turn out for them.
So I'll see how that goes, but in the meantime, I'd like to shift gears over to one of my favorite topics, which is Microsoft and chat clients and how they are absolutely destroying Skype. What are they doing?
Oh, they scared the heck out of me this last couple of weeks with this ill-conceived concept that we're going to eliminate the ability to be able to record from within Skype. Now, I don't know how often you use that feature, but I record many of my radio interviews. Most of my radio interviews I record from my home studio where I am right now using Skype and call recorder. So all of a sudden having to look at some other option was just ridiculous. You know what it seems? It seems they are bound and determined to make Google Talk and to make Facebook Chat the preferred avenues of talk of chat. They seem to like those. They seem to like those platforms a lot. They certainly. But this is when you get a cross of cultures. When you get an ingrained culture as deeply and as insular as Microsoft. I mean, you have to figure Microsoft is an incredibly dysfunctional company from day one, in the last 10 years, because they've had to go through a corporate catharsis, which basically says we've got to kill off our cash cow. We've got to move away from monolithic operating systems and apps to an online world, which means we have to kill the thing that made us great. And that is a really difficult thing to kind of get around, and so and they didn't do it. They did it by siloing, by setting one division against another, and that I'm sure there's going to be some fascinating business books written about the battles that went on and the resignations and the bloodbaths that happened as a result of that. But you still had managers who were bonused on Windows performance and Office performance, who were going into meetings with people from the live division who were bound and determined to kill them. I mean, could you imagine the dynamics of those sorts of and they work for the same company. So that company then, when you set that against that company acquiring a loosey-goosey group like Skype, who just kind of, it's like it's almost like the product was built while they were stoned, right? I mean, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're not going to make it easy for anybody to find anything, but it's going to do this, and all of a sudden everybody's talking and we all love each other. Let's hug, and so you got this integration of Skype now coming into this entity that is Microsoft. And it's no surprise that it's I can't say the word, but it's no surprise that it's clustered. And I think we're seeing the result. We're seeing straight-laced managers being inserted, starting to institute command and control, and the result is we just see a company. We see what was not necessarily a great product, but a great integration starting to circle the drain a little bit. I mean, thank God for the baby boomers coming online and the old people, because they love Skype. And they haven't quite figured out the Google thing yet, so that's what's keeping them going right now. I mean, the thing about Skype for us is, you asked how often we use the recording feature. Not at all. We can't use Skype. In fact, I think you did want to call in today with Skype, and I'll explain why we can't use it. It's because there's an exploit in Skype that allows anyone who knows your Skype ID or the Skype ID of someone you're talking to, and then can therefore find out your Skype ID, can actually perform a DDoS attack on your IP address, making it so that we were losing our streams. In the middle of our streams, we were getting DDoSed because of a Skype exploit when we were using Skype. So we have a zero Skype policy as a company now. There is no Skype. No Skype is to be used anywhere in this building. And so your issues with it are of a pure technical nature. The fact that they haven't got their act together as a trusted provider. I mean, MSN was a better framework than Skype for our purposes. And we're talking technology that's, I was in high school. So we're talking technology that's over 10 years old at this point. Wow. That's interesting. I have to say, just on it as a complete aside, I was watching the live stream before we came on, and I was blown away by the quality of the live stream. You know, for all of the little issues we have in the back end of making this thing work, my gosh, that's a nice clean feed that's coming through on your guys' stuff. That's pretty cool.
Thank you. We've spent a lot of time improving it over the last quite a while. All right, now we have one more topic for Steve before he goes, and guys, stay tuned because you are about to. Steve, keep an eye on the chat thing there because this is going to be kind of hilarious. Steve has the least popular opinion on the entire internet about the Xbox One and Microsoft's move backpedaling from making it an entertainment system and going, okay, no, we're focused on gaming. So Steve,
ridiculous.
You wish they had gone forward with this. Give me the baby boomers perspective compared to the younger gaming audience, which is what we typically cater to. Let's hear it. And guys, just hear him out, okay? Here we go.
Well, it's I think the new Xbox is a phenomenal piece of technology, and it's not a gaming box. It does gaming, but it's the hub of a home entertainment system. If Microsoft wants to own the living room and own the core of the entertainment hub in the households, they had to take this product and they had to position it first and foremost as your entertainment center. They had to talk about the fact you can be, you know, all the stuff that might seem to be completely low-hanging fruit as far as a lot of your audience goes, but everything from Netflix integration to streaming my music through it to the fact that I can do Skype integration and talk to my family at Christmas time, the wide angle, you know, the connect, the camera, the fact that you could create presence on it. Those are stories that baby boomers don't understand they can do off of their high-def TV and off of their living room. And yeah, can you play phenomenal games too? Yes, you can, but most people over 50 aren't that concerned about playing those games. We're concerned about the community, the programming, the conversational aspects. Xbox is going to sell to gamers. It's a great box that's going to sell to gamers. You guys are going to gobble it up and you're going to dissect it and you're going to talk about the nuances of it's, you know, I got 8 more, it's 18% faster playing Call of Duty 74 Space Blaster Edition, and it's you've got all of those. You know, you guys are going to discuss those things, and it's going to sell to that market. That's not the market they have to worry about. If they want to grow, if they want to really become the dominant player in the marketplace, they had to reach out to me. They had to reach out to my marketplace and tell me, because I think I should have it in my living room, whether or not I ever want to play a game on it. And if I do decide to play a game on it, great, but it does so many other things. The living room is a quagmire of pieces of crap, all that talk to each other or don't talk to each other. You know, streaming, you know, Netflix streaming through, I laugh now because when I was a kid, my dad would holler, "Who flushed the toilet?" every time he was in the shower because the cold water would, you know, the hot water would scald him all of a sudden. And now it's, who's uploading a file because the Netflix stops in the living room. We just don't get it. We need one system that we can have in place that feeds our entertainment complex, our personal entertainment complex. And Xbox should have been that. That's what they should have led with. There.
So here,
now they can hammer me.
Yeah, we'll let the hate flow and I think the hate might keep flowing because there are a couple things you said that I actually do agree with. Xbox One was going to be a gaming console regardless. It was going to run games, all of those things. But I think they had to be a little bit more careful about, and while they had to be a little bit more careful about the branding, and they shouldn't have necessarily made their live internet stream that all the gamers were going to be watching and not their parents. Well, they shouldn't have made that all about the home entertainment system. They should have done some of their other marketing about the home entertainment aspect. So, for example, if they were to do a print ad, that should be about the home entertainment system. They should have marketed...
Because we read magazines?
Because the older people are going to actually read print, whereas the younger people won't. Yes. And looking at it from my mom's perspective, if she were to buy one entertainment device for the family, she would buy the one that seems to do things that she wants.
But why not release like Xbox GT, like Xbox One GT and Xbox One HT?
Because that complicates things. The idea is you want to build a platform.
I agree with you.
But if you're building a platform that works for everything, it's not going to be as good at doing all of those things.
But that's life.
Which is already notified by how much slower it is.
Do you have a cell phone? Does it have a camera on it?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's the
But
future.
your argument is completely invalid because it sucks at gaming. We figured that out. They've been using footage from a PS4 to show off Xbox One games.
And that's true, but that is because
It's
Sony has
clearly insignificant.
Sony's implementation of the same hardware is better.
Yes.
That's all that happens.
Because they're
here.
diverting so much of the Xbox One to be able to do other things.
So while Microsoft may have jumped the gun on this, and while it might not work, I do agree. The thing I agree with that Steve said is that they had to try. Because the thing that we've talked about before is can you actually mute Steve? Because I'm going to talk for a bit here, and the hiss is coming. The thing that I agree with is that Microsoft had to try this, and the reason for that is because what you and I already agree about is this is probably the last generation of dedicated console hardware. So what the game is now is who can build the platform that other devices will run on in the future. Well. I'm sorry. No, yeah, but you have to build, like, the platform has to be a software ecosystem that people buy into. It has to be Xbox Marketplace. It has to be Skype. It has to be this. It has to be that. You have to get that box in there under the guise of being a gaming machine. You have to get people used to using it, and then you have to integrate it with something else.
And all of that could have been fine.
But
they could have released 2 versions. They could have released 2 modes. You could go into like home theater mode and then it enables all these things, or if you go into gaming mode, it disables all these things.
Yeah, but
they have constant connectivity for everything.
Here's the problem: is that won't appeal to my mom. She can't figure out how to change the mode on anything.
So have it in home theater mode stock.
Even
or have a giant button on a TV
The kids will come along and they'll play a game and they'll forget. You are not understanding older people.
I understand my mom.
I know your mom is an exception.
If it comes with a TV clicker, which it doesn't, if it did, and there was a giant green Xbox button in the middle.
Yes.
That said, like, mode.
Okay, my aunt and my mom, neither of them can figure that out. Trust me.
Well, then they shouldn't buy an Xbox.
But that's not the point. Microsoft wants them to buy an Xbox.
It's too complicated for them to be able to use it already, if that's the case.
And that may be true. But all I'm saying that I agree with is that they had to try. They had to try because Sony has every opportunity.
Their implementation of it then failed.
Well, okay, aside from that, I'm not saying it didn't fail. I'm saying they had to try because Sony has an opportunity, because they own actual TV manufacturing, to integrate into a TV later.
So they tried and they reverted. So is that bad?
They tried and they reverted?
They tried and failed and reverted. They didn't try and succeed.
That is then a failure. So we can agree it's a failure, but I think they had to try. That's all I'm trying to say.
I'm okay with them trying. They just really sucked at trying.
Okay.
I'm gonna unmute.
So here, bring back Steve, and
I'm bleeding here. Old fat guy's wrong. The one guy I'm hoping he friends me on Facebook and comes over. The guy that keeps saying fart. Because I want to be his friend. I think that you muting me basically undermined any credibility that I had. They seem to think that was a big thing. And don't swear, please don't swear, boys. So here's the thing. Here's where you guys are making a big mistake though as well. Since I've already got the hate on from your constituency. Your peeps there. I talked. Is that
Thank
young
you, Steve.
speak enough?
Sorry, the only reason I muted you was because the hiss kept getting louder and louder and louder. Yeah, I didn't mean to turn you off there. At all.
Okay. It doesn't bother me at all. Oh, good, the fart guy's back. Good. Now listen, the thing that you guys are missing here, which is crucial, and everybody that's saying that I'm this dinosaur that doesn't get it. I'm not talking about mom who can't control the PV, doesn't know how to turn on her PVR and turn off her PVR, or the person who's technically intimidated by the technology. That's not who Xbox should have been marketed to. It should have been marketed to the moderately competent technical baby boomers like myself who want to integrate the full system. I'm happy to have a system at the heart. I do have to do some configuration on that ties into the internet, that ties into the online services, that ties in to to video, ties into gaming, ties into social networking. I'm looking for that box. And that box happens to be a kick-ass gaming system too, which is fantastic. But Microsoft, if they'd given me that message, if they'd delivered that message to that group, they could have grown their market faster. I'm not saying that it's not going to be a great gaming system and all that sort of thing. I'm talking about their strategy of launching it as a gaming system first, and that being the first thing out of their mouth. Because the gamers knew it was going to be great. They were waiting for it. They were going to buy it regardless. They had an opportunity to generate a whole new market out of my people, and growing and becoming the de facto standard in the living room to my community. That was my argument.
All right, well, guys, I think we're gonna probably sort of move on to our next topic. I just realized it's 5:45 already. Steve, we've kept you for a full extra 15 minutes, but thank you again for joining us on the show.
8 of those I was on mute, though. Let's face it.
Sorry, man. So
it was a pleasure.
Want to just do sort of let them know where they can find you in the meantime, and more importantly, maybe where their parents can find you and get some tips on technology.
I'm not sure we should be giving out any of my information anymore now, looking at the feed here. But yeah, dottotech.com. By all means, drop by, and I'm at dottotech on Twitter. So I'm sure my clout score is going to go up with all of the mentions. They don't look for whether they're positive comments or not. But it's been a pleasure, guys. One last kind of personal thing.
Sure.
Is when I met you first, Linus, I kind of looked at you and I said, that was me 20 years ago, what you're doing now. I think I kind of broke ground in network television and getting technology on network television 20 years ago. And I was very proud of the fact that I had a team that I relied on, and we just basically read what was happening in the marketplace. We worked within it and moved the ball downfield. Well, you've picked up that ball and you've carried it way downfield, and I congratulate you. I think you're doing a great job, and thanks for having me on. It's been an honor.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Steve. All right, now I'm gonna address one thing, sort of here now that our guest segment is over, and that is how Microsoft could have pulled this off, because there was no need for them to backpedal on the entertainment system messaging if they had delivered a couple of things. Yep. Number one is if they hadn't pissed off the gamers.
Yep. If
they hadn't said, look, yeah, you're going to need online account this, you're going to need this, you're going to need that, because I don't even disagree that online downloading of games and online registration of games is a bad thing, but you should have been able to sell them to other people and re-gift them through the online system rather than necessarily relying on a disc to gift things and all of that noise. So they could have succeeded if they didn't piss off the gamers, and they still could have delivered all of this messaging about TV and PVR and Skype and all that stuff. Number two is the Xbox One had to be slightly better, hardware-wise, than the PS4. It is not like the technology from AMD didn't exist, okay? Throughout the entire development life cycle of the Xbox One, Microsoft could have gone, oh, AMD, okay, that's what you're showing us? No, we want double that. They could have delivered a better piece of hardware if they'd been willing to do what the console guys have always done in the past.
Just take a little bit
and
of a
take a bit of a hit up front, because both Sony and Microsoft have said, look, we're profitable from day one on PS4 and Xbox One. If they'd been willing to take a hit again in order to push their agenda of owning the living room, they could have delivered all the messaging, because the Xbox One pre-orders are getting canceled because the performance isn't as good. If Microsoft's messaging was all about how great it is as an entertainment system, and your mom's gonna love it too, and they were also delivering kick-ass gaming performance,
like
compared
just as
to
fast
everything.
or faster.
Just as fast or faster, and the exclusive titles and all the things that gamers don't need Microsoft to tell them, because they are, like Steve said, they already know about it anyway. They're already on the internet finding out everything there is to know about Xbox One. If that stuff had been good, this would have been a huge success.
If additional features are not bad if they don't conflict with other features. So if they brought in all this home theater stuff and experience stuff, and it didn't affect the gaming side at all, it would have been fine. I would have no problems with it.
There is still a huge unknown here, and that is how Microsoft's cloud compute is going to help the gaming experience.
But it's going to have...
And latency and this and that, I know, but the debate we're about to have is about an unknown.
Yes.
All I said is it's an unknown.
Yep.
That's it.
You're not wrong at all. But
so it's an unknown.
There's already been developers saying that they don't necessarily want to touch it because they're scared of a massive amount of their audience not being able to utilize it.
And there's that. And then there's also that whole conversation about how it took 8 years to figure out how to leverage cell. Maybe it takes 8 years before the infrastructure, blah, 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 leveraging this. Yeah. And maybe 4 years in, Xbox One absolutely smokes PS4.
Who knows?
Because of that infrastructure. We don't know. It's an unknown. But Microsoft had an opportunity to just put a better piece of hardware in your living room, and I think things could have gone very differently.
Yep, definitely. If they put enough beef behind it to actually support the system that they wanted to release, it would have been fine. No one could really complain when saying, oh, well, the Xbox One is considerably faster, so it can support all these different systems, and it's still better at gaming. Then they could also justify their higher price tag.
All right, let's talk about things that are legitimately better at gaming. Moving on to, actually, no, first let's talk about our sponsor, Squarespace. So, guys, you can visit squarespace.com/ I almost forgot to. I tried to do the sponsor after the guest segment. You can visit squarespace.com and use offer code Linus11. So that is Linus11 for November. And you can get your free trial of Squarespace, which is the easy way. They have tons of templates. I think they're up to over 24 templates now for different websites that you can create, whether it's a store or a blog or just any kind of information about you. You just want to create a site dedicated to being a brony. Go for it. You can do that on Squarespace. It is very straightforward. They take care of all the hosting for you. It's completely dynamic. So if I were to head over to, or if you were to go to linusmediagroup.com, that is a Squarespace-driven site. We've tried hammering it during the stream. It doesn't go down because, like I said, it's dynamic. If you buy an entire year subscription, they actually throw in a domain for you, and that 10% off is for a subscription, but you also get a free trial. So speaking of free trial, Squarespace reached out to me and they said, hey, Linus, we wanted to correct you from last week because you didn't know how much Squarespace costs per month. It's $8. And I was like, oh, thank you for that. Sorry.
How much should we?
I think I said like $10 or something like that. So it's only $8 anyway. And they said they wanted to give away a free year of Squarespace by asking listeners to tweet in their trial sites. So head over to Squarespace, pick up a trial, create a website, and then tweet your trial site to hashtag Linus Squarespace. Hashtag Linus Squarespace. We should have created a little text thing for this, but don't worry, I'll link it in the video description. Hashtag Linus Squarespace, and you will be entered into a random draw to win your site for a year, and you can do whatever you want with it at that point, and then you can talk about how great it is or whatever else. But there you go, guys. There's an incentive to go for a trial. Squarespace.com/Linus, actually. They prefer if I don't say /Linus, I think, but whatever. Squarespace.com, offer code Linus11. We use it. We like it.
Does
we recommend
/Linus
it.
work?
Yeah, I think it works, but I don't know 100%. I think they prefer if you don't use it or something. I can't remember. Anyway, see, they're going to watch this now. They're going to be like, what is he doing? Why is he even talking about this?
You keep saying all the wrong things.
Why do you keep saying all the wrong things, Linus? You're less professional than everyone else we deal with.
So we should get the Twitter moving on these next two topics.
Yeah.
Immediately.
All right.
So
How about this for our question? Which was the most important graphics card launch out of the two?
Yeah, because they're
Okay.
both, in my opinion, the most important for the two
Yeah,
teams.
because they're both a big deal. But we want to hear on Twitter, guys, at LinusTech on Twitter, which was more important as a graphics card launch, Radeon R9 290 or GTX 780 Ti? So for those of you who aren't super familiar, R9 290 is a $399 card, so it's kind of value enthusiast grade, okay? That performs almost as well as anything else out there, with the exception of the after 290 launched Nvidia retort with the GTX 780 Ti, which outperforms everything else, particularly after overclocking, but is a $700 card-ish. So it's very, very expensive, but it's now the king. It's the reigning champion for a single GPU card. So we want to hear what is more important while we take a little bit of time to discuss them. So Radeon R9 290, it blew me away.
I'm probably more excited for the future of this card than many cards that I've ever seen before, because it gets crazy hot and it could use more power. So once we get aftermarket designs that cool it the heck down, because as with this card, literally, you get 1 degree cooler, it will go faster.
Yeah.
And
Every degree is actually worth FPS.
Because you'll probably get a better cooler that brings it colder, but then you'll be able to clock it higher to max it out again, and it'll just go even faster because this card is just endlessly
You know
crazy.
what we should do? We're waiting for a water block for the R9 290 series from Coolants. As soon as they have something available, that's going to be in the mail. We're ready to rock with that. But you know what we should do? It's getting cold here. We should take this outside.
I thought you were going to say revitalize the chiller.
We should find... Oh, we could. Oh, no, because we don't have a block yet. But if we were to take this baby outside and find out what she can do...
I should go try and overclock outside at 3 a.m. or something.
Yeah, that could be fascinating. So anyway, that's where we're at on 290. It's interesting, but the power consumption is very high. The stock cooler is inadequate. If you guys want to hear a recommendation from me, I don't usually come out and say, buy this card or don't buy this card. Here's my recommendation. Don't buy this card now.
Not now.
Not yet.
Soon,
perhaps. Because power consumption is high, but the cooler can't handle all this power and all this excess that's being generated as heat. Whereas if we get better coolers, even like an Asus Direct CU2 triple slot cooler or something like that, that's what I'm excited
that'd be
for.
epic.
Is what can this card really do with better power delivery? Because AMD, unlike Nvidia with Project Greenlight, where they say, okay, no, you can have this much power limit and this much voltage, and anything else is you deal with the warranty and the returns yourself. AMD has, according to what they told me, given the partners the green light.
Just go for gold.
If you want to build a card that can provide 600 watts of power to the GPU, go for it. That's what they told me at the GPU 14 conference. So if someone builds a 290 or a 290X that actually is balls to the walls in terms of the PCB design, we could be looking at a whole new class of card right there.
Wow.
So there you go, guys. That is my take on R9 290. Project Mantle, I'm kind of tired of discussing it. We don't know. It's a big talking point. However, we do know a couple more things. We know Thief is going to support it.
Yeah,
we know Star Citizen is going to support it. We know that the upcoming game engine, bloody hell, what's it called?
I think you just put in game engine.
Yeah, I can't even remember what I said about it. Anyway, there's an upcoming game engine someone's working on that's going to support it. And that's all a big deal, maybe.
Who knows?
Maybe.
No idea.
Much like Microsoft's Cloud Xbox One augmentation, maybe. Whatever.
Who knows if
Crystal
anyone
ball.
has faster internet for it. Someone is gonna meme GIF that.
Oh, for sure.
And they're probably gonna put a little crystal ball in.
Thank you. I would appreciate that
I
very
love
much,
that
actually.
meme thread.
If you can mask out when I'm behind the crystal ball or distort it somehow, I'll be very impressed. Okay, so moving on to 780 Ti. From my perspective, is it revolutionary? No. It's GK110. It should have been GTX780 Ti boost or something like that. That's what this card should have been. If everything went according to, if the universe was entirely perfect, and it should have been $700 a year ago or whenever that card launched, 680. But I'm still stoked for it.
It's awesome. It's super powerful.
Super powerful. Like, you were talking minimum frames per second that were competitive with the maximums you were getting on. Like,
the numbers I wish I could have shown were when it wasn't crashing on only Tomb Raider.
Yeah, we had it clocked at 1275.
And like, I wasn't locked in. I might have been able to squeeze a little bit
Stable
more.
in everything but Tomb Raider.
I was crushing some games. I had certain games where minimum frame rates on the Ti were higher than maximum frame rates for other cards.
Like 770s
like,
and stuff like
yeah.
that. Like, we're talking just...
Like, nice cards.
Destroying games.
I was so unfortunate that I had to clock it down just because it was crashing a Tomb Raider. But that's a thing, so that's fine.
Yeah, like, we have to... Okay, something about our overclocked settings is we make sure they're stable.
Yeah.
They have to be stable in our entire test suite.
This is actually part of the problem. In a recent video, we brought up that we're going to be starting to use hardware bot. But there's a few problems with this which might not make it possible, but we're going to try anyways. One, they're only validating with like 3D Mark and stuff.
Yeah, which isn't that demanding.
No. So, and then it's everyone's as fast as they can possibly get it clock, and the only people that are using it are going to be people that are really insane. So we might get some random binned card that might be a little bit lower and might be able to pull that in 3D Mark, but can't pull that in other applications.
Yeah. So we're still not sure how we're going to do what overclock settings we run at, but if nothing else, we run at what our cards are stable at in our entire test suite. Yeah. So moving on to 780 Ti. I mean, it's so expensive. At least it's so cheaper than Titan. I'll give it that.
It's cheaper than Titan. It's how much a 780 used to be.
Yeah.
And a lot of people bought 780s.
Yeah.
So I think it's at the bracket where it's not too much. Like a Titan was too much. Like it was too much to the point. It was above $1,000.
People didn't care.
Them. Lots.
And then 780 came along and made way more sense. And now 780 Ti moves Titan to what it was really supposed to be. Titan was never a gaming card. Nvidia launched it kind of like a gaming card. Like, you look at the press that was seated a Titan compared to the press that was even seated something like 780 Ti, a $700 card. It's not about the extra $300 in the MSRP. It's about the fact that Titan was not a gaming card. It was a programming card.
Double
it was
precision.
A CUDA card.
Double precision.
It was a compute card. And then it happened to be fantastic for gaming because it got GeForce grade drivers as opposed to Quadro or Tesla drivers. That's all that happened there. So Titan, from a gaming perspective, put it out of your mind unless, one scenario, 4K gaming In future titles, I believe Titan may pull ahead of 780 Ti.
But we might also see higher RAM specs.
And that's only right
780
now. While Titan has 6 gigs of RAM and 780 Ti only comes with 3. And then the other scenario was also related to memory, and that was if you're going to run 4K surround or something like that, and you're going to run multiple cards, you need all the GPU horsepower and you need all the memory, and Titan will be the only way to achieve that. That is the only scenario where Titan makes any sense for a gamer.
But again, we don't know. There might be different models that have higher RAM for 780 Ti, and then that would remove both those situations. But we have no word of it so far, so if it doesn't happen, then again, yeah.
All the fingers crossed.
Yeah, yeah.
Like toes crossed. I actually didn't have all my fingers crossed. I lied. I lied!
That's difficult. I can put it there, but I can't, like, just do that.
Yeah, can we cross all of our fingers? This is what we take up our audience time with. You're coming out! Woo, hoo, hoo, hoo.
Like shadow figures.
Yeah.
All
right, let's go to the Twitter boards. Let's go to the Twitter boards. Let's hear
yeah.
what you guys have to say. All right. So we're gonna go through these pretty quick here, guys. Ludwig says, right now for me, the R9 and the R9 290X are more important because planning to run 3 monitors. Fantastic point, Ludwig, because AMD's triple monitor support is still more seamless than Nvidia's support. R9 290X is the card. Not everyone has the budget to run a 7... No, R9 290X is not the card to me. For longevity even, I think you're wrong, because R9 290 has most of the GPU oomph that 290X does, and has all the RAM and all the memory bandwidth. So
I'm more interested in 290 than 290X.
Given the price difference between them, 290 is a killer.
Yeah.
So someone says R9 290 because price to performance ratio. Someone says, yes, I think you should redo the benchmarks outside at night. That would be very interesting. I hate to do this to you.
I'd be down.
It may be just R9 290 versus, I think it would be 780 would be the important thing.
We could do...
Like head to head.
We could do...
You want to do 4 cards?
3 or 4 cards. Yeah, that's fine.
GK110 and then Hawaii...
Should we try to pick like a cold night, or should I go up to like a mountain and make it epic?
We'll talk about it offline.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So Ashley says R9 290 is more important. It's $250 cheaper than the 780 was 2 weeks ago. Ashley has a good point, because if you want to talk about importance, you can talk about it in the perspective of, well, what changed the market? What made Nvidia release 780 Ti?
Yep.
What made Nvidia drop the price of their flagship card, which they were perfectly content to sit back and charge $700 to $1,000 for GK110. They were going to do that all day.
Yep.
And great point, Ashley, if we want to talk importance.
And, you know, I'm probably agreeing, because importance, too, I'm looking at the price points. There's a bigger market for an R9 290 than there is for a 780 Ti.
Yeah.
So how much it will affect things, if you're looking at it that way, probably a 290.
Okay, HTT Tech says 290X. I think some people are a little bit confused because the naming is so similar between these cards. We're talking about R9 290, not R9 290X. Just to be clear, I hate AMD's new naming scheme. I think it's rubbish. If anyone from AMD is watching, even though you're a sponsor now, I think a lot of the things you do are great. I don't think this naming scheme is great.
They tried to make it more simple, but then you're flippy-floppying with X's, and that's just even more
confusing. R9, I mean, there's only like 2 R7 cards.
Yeah.
And does R5 even exist? Like, what was even the point of having the initial thing if you're just going to not even segment it?
Do you remember the first graph I made?
Yeah, you accidentally, I think, called 260X and R7 or something, or 270X and R7.
I think I called 280X and R8, which isn't even a thing. I was just like, this makes sense, I'm typing it.
780 Ti will be more important because it can put one of their cards on top, similar to how ISPs advertise up to. That is a very good point. The halo effect is a thing. Yep. And I'm not talking about Microsoft releasing one Halo game that was great, another one that was really good, and then the rest that really weren't that exceptional until the most recent. That's not the Halo effect I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you have a flagship product that's better than your competitors, your direct competitor's flagship product. You might have 2 products way down in the stack. I mean, there was a period of time when Radeon 7770 was like deep into double digits better than GTX780 Ti before they released the boost, and for some reason people were still buying 650 Ti's. I couldn't quite figure it out because it was not a competitive card at all at that price point.
It puts that green bar at the top of the chart.
It puts that green bar at the top of the chart. There's the halo effect. People buying things because of how the top tier products perform even though they can't afford them is definitely a thing. Great point from CP Métis. I am more excited about R9 290, better performance than my 7950. That is a great point too, because it comes in at a price point that 7950 upgraders who bought back when that card was released and delivers a performance upgrade that is significant. So
7850.
7850? Oh, okay, I have no idea what you're talking about then. Either, well, okay. A lot of things perform better than your 7850. I say 290, it's more budget friendly. They're quite last gen tech. 290 impressed me more with the potential of raw performance of overclocked GCN. Yep, okay, fair enough. Many grocery stores have freezers that get down to around minus 29. Yeah, we'd have a hard time convincing a grocery store to let us put a heat source in the freezer that keeps their food fresh. Just saying. Other cooling solutions have shown the card is actually coolable. The 290 is more important since it has a reasonable price. Okay, so I think we've seen pretty much, we saw a couple really interesting points about 780 Ti, but it's pretty much unanimous that 290 is incredibly important in terms of what it did to the market and what it did for price to performance for this generation, at least until Nvidia brings us Maxwell sometime next year.
And like, I love both cards, and honestly, you heard my random comments while I was overclocking 780 Ti. Every single time I try a new game,
I'd hear from the other room.
So that was amazing, but it's so expensive. I don't know.
Now this is a very brief discussion. We talked about this a little bit earlier. So AMD Mantel API, so adopted by various developers. We already said who they were: Eidos Montreal, Cloud Imperium Games, so that's Thief and Star Citizen, which makes a lot of sense since those guys were there at GPU 14. It was like, who could have predicted this? This was posted by Tom Pix on the forum. Who could have predicted they would have supported Mantle? Anyway, the thing that I don't like about Mantle and PhysX and G-Sync is that we seem to be heading in a direction, and Nvidia can criticize AMD all they want about the way that adding another API fragments the market, and they're right. It does. DirectX and OpenGL and mobile and console, that was enough already. We actually don't need more unless, like, please AMD, if you don't deliver compelling performance improvements with Mantle, oh boy, you guys have hyped this up an awful lot for that to not happen.
That's very true.
I am rooting for you here. It better be awesome.
However, if it's not, you'll get slaughtered. You
guys are going to get torn apart. But the thing I don't like about it is that I don't see NVIDIA's approach with some things that differently. The way that I see PhysX is it's just a custom change to an API that already exists that enhances the gameplay experience for some customers who all paid $60 for that game and not others. That's the thing I don't like here is Star Citizen is a game that I want to experience in the best way possible. If I can't have G-Sync and PhysX, we already know the game's going to support PhysX, and Mantle and Eyefinity and all these technologies,
True Audio or whatever it's called,
I'm going to be disappointed. I paid $250 to play that game. Yeah, True Audio is another example. I want to experience it the way the game developer can deliver it to me if they have all the technology available. At least give me the option to run two cards, and if I have to just run True Audio on my AMD card, then fine. But I want to have an option. As a consumer, that is the thing that I feel like is happening here, and I don't really like it. So that was all I wanted to say about that.
And it's frustrating. We even had a conversation earlier, which is, this is bounding off something that you just said, even putting two cards in.
Yeah.
Like, it's impossible. You can't. We even
Nvidia,
theorized some...
blocks at every turn, every hack they've seen for running a secondary dedicated Nvidia card for PhysX.
Yeah. Like we couldn't do that setup. You couldn't have mirrored inputs, so you're actually playing two computers at the same time. Even that doesn't even bring it close enough, which is kind of ridiculous.
All right, so moving on to things that we're unhappy with, or it seems that the entire internet is unhappy with. Metacritic, the scores for Call of Duty Ghosts. So get this, from official reviewers, we have a score of 74. All right, so that's out of 100. The user score, and this is on the, which one? This is the Xbox 360 version, is 2.1, based generally unfavorable ratings based on 931 ratings. So going back to our doc here, we looked them all up. So Xbox 360 has a user score of 2.1. PC has a user score of 1.7. PC gamers expect better, apparently.
Well, there's also some specific bugs on PC.
PS3 has a score of 1.8, and PS4 actually has a significant number of negative user reviews, but based on the fact that that's not out yet, I'm going to go ahead and call BS on those ones. Now, this might be a case of gamers blowing things out of proportion. We know that they do that. Gamers?
Out of 10, it's not a 1.3. I seriously doubt it's a 1.3.
It's still a AAA title. 1.3, we're talking Farm Simulator that doesn't have any tractors in it. Let's talk about if you ever got a score on a test that was 13% or 20%. How little did you know about the subject matter?
That's taking a multiple choice test, but just not actually filling in all the answers, because multiple choice test filling in all the answers would be better. It would be 25.
You could still yield 20 to 25%.
Yeah, like,
okay. So there's that thing. All right.
At the same time, like, it's, from what I've heard, I haven't played it. It's basically the exact same damn game.
I watched Total Biscuit's review.
Yeah, me
He was
too.
just like, yeah, it's the
And
same thing.
everything that he brought up was very true, and it should have gotten slaughtered. Maybe it's a little bit too much, but like
Maybe a bit too
it
much.
did deserve it to a certain degree. And you know what? This is how the gaming community talks to people.
Yeah.
So they're talking.
So they're talking.
And they've obviously haven't completely abandoned Call of Duty if they're willing to talk this much. They're probably saying, hey guys, fix your crap, and then we'll maybe buy your game later.
So, yeah, there's that. I think we should still benchmark it because, the hate train doesn't stop there. The hate train only just left the station. Oh, okay, hold on. Apparently we had this in there twice. We had, we had the Metacritic thing, and then we had blah, 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 blah. The whole thing about 1 billion sales, like right at the very beginning. That was sales to retailers, not to actual end users. So that was kind of awesome. So we actually don't quite know how many copies of COD Ghosts are actually out there. The next thing that there's a whole lot of hate for is the 6 gig requirement on the PC version. So QWERTY Warrior posted this on the forum, and I thought this was pretty interesting. So hackers have bypassed it, but basically what the developer did was they put a hard limit, an artificial hard limit into the game that doesn't let you even launch it if you do not have 6 gigs of RAM in your system. And this is a problem for a number of reasons. Number one is many gaming machines have 4 gigs of RAM. Number two is that the game only uses between 1.2 to 2 gigs of memory when it's in use. And I'm pretty sure most people don't use more than 2 gigs of RAM at the desktop if they have 4 gigs. And number three is the fact that even people who have 6 gigs of memory in their system might have some of it taken up by an onboard graphics card that's running in something like Nvidia Optimus mode. So some of it is dedicated to the frame buffer of their onboard graphics, and the game won't run even though they have 6 gigs of memory. A hard limit is a stupid thing to have as a minimum requirement. Let me install the game and let me find out if it's okay, and I'll upgrade my graphics if it's not working well enough for me. Thank you very much.
So one of the things I'm going to do when we benchmark it is I'm going to benchmark it with their thing enabled, whatever the crap, and then I'm going to install the hackers tool to remove it, and we're going to test it with 4 gigs compared to 6 gigs in those configurations, so we can laugh at them because there's no difference.
So the cracked version already runs and installs just fine with 4 gigs of RAM, and the real version, the article is on Next Power Up, by the way, and the real version does not. So once again, breaking games and pirating them, which is something that I don't support and something that we'd all love to find a way to get away from, and the industry needs to figure out a way to stop. They need to deliver games that work, and then, I mean, stuff like this. We actually have people who legit can't play a legit copy of the game. You got to stop doing that, because that's not helping.
And that's just making piracy that much better. I hate saying that, but it's true. Like, this is why it's existing this strongly, is because when people have to run away from legitimately buying it and legitimately playing it because that solution is crap, and they have to run to these pirates that are actually saving them, that's a problem.
Yes,
And
you're making those guys good guys, and you're making yourselves bad guys. That is terrible. Absolutely terrible.
But they're good guys at this point. Like, it's not their fault. I don't know.
All right, so we have, hold on, I want to pull up the document here just so that I can bring up this video, because this has already made the rounds, and I know we're not the first people to talk about it, but I thought it was pretty hilarious, and that was the copy-pasted cutscene in the new Call of Duty game. So let's just go ahead and fire this baby up. The YouTube. Okay, well, whatever. I was trying to move the ad there at the end. But, like, seriously, guys?
I don't like it either, but my devil's advocate claim to it is one of their things for a long
Seriously,
time.
guys?
I don't know if I'm trying. One of their things for a really long time was war never changes. So I don't know, maybe they're trying to pull on that, but they could have done it a lot better. And like, if that was their whole point, they could have done like a fade to black and then had the text war never changes on it, and then everyone would have understood it and it would have been okay.
Did you just say understand it?
Yes, I did.
Because that derp moment wasn't as bad as the one that we just showed. So.
I've been like trying to pull myself through that because I don't actually agree with it all. So I screwed up one of the words.
Speaking of things we rarely agree with, EA. All right.
I know where you're going.
So EA, never content to let someone else have all the bad press. This was posted. This was posted on the forum by Only Smokin'. Battlefield 4 is facing a number of issues on all platforms at the moment, etc., etc., etc. There's some some emails and some messages and stuff going on here with some names blacked out. But pretty much the gist of it is
DICE was still trying to develop the game. They're still trying to add things to the game. They're still trying to actually do QA on some things. And EA was like, nope, we're releasing before COD.
Yeah. So, we've had some positive things to say about EA. We've had some weeks where we've said nothing about EA, but this is a problem, EA. I mean, if the game's not done, the game's not done. Okay?
If someone uses a silence weapon, it shouldn't mute the entire server.
And if you had let Ghosts release with a dog ahead of your game, you wouldn't have even had to worry about it anymore. Because everyone would have had Battlefield 4 on their Christmas lists so fast. I mean, I guess you have no way of predicting that COD Ghost was going to be terrible. But, come on, guys. And I mean, there's some other things that are kind of bothering me here, too. The Battlefield 4 DLC is coming hard and heavy. So they're already talking about 2 DLCs. So China Rising, and then what was the bloody other one called?
Basically, the second one is just like a bunch of Battlefield 3 maps that people like.
Yeah, so Battlefield 3 maps that people liked. Come on, guys. You didn't even redesign the maps. You're skinning them. That should have been in the game if you already knew people like them. I mean, based on the fact that they're already done so quickly means they were pretty much already done. Basically, to me, what they're doing, and I talked to Edsel, actually, because he bought the premium membership. Okay? And he basically went, well, yeah, with all of the expansion packs and the way that people move on to the new version when an expansion pack rolls out, I just got premium because that's the only way to really keep up.
It's a simpler solution.
Okay.
And you get pre-release.
But I have a problem with this. I have a problem with the deceptive way that it's being marketed.
Sorry, Second Assault. That's what it's
Second
called.
Assault, thank you. So I have a problem with the deceptive way it's being marketed. Battlefield 4 is being marketed as a $59.99 title. Okay,
it's not.
You can pay $69.99 and you can get some random launch day DLC, but you don't actually get. I think you get China Rising as well, with Digital Deluxe. So you can pay a little bit more and you can get the first expansion pack and then a little bit of other DLC. Or you can get the premium one, which will actually ensure that your copy of Battlefield 4 is the copy of Battlefield 4 throughout the game's release cycle. What they have effectively done is they have figured out a way to market you that their game is $60, but actually have you willingly give them $110.
Now, I've seen a lot of comments on this where people were saying, "Oh, why do we all hate DLC now when the community, gaming community as a whole, loves expansions or loved expansions." It's not the same thing. When Warcraft 3 got an expansion,
Two. This was I'm the one who wrote this. Oh wait, are you talking about Warcraft 3?
Yeah.
Oh, because my notes are on Warcraft 2 actually.
Oh,
That's funny. We both have the same thought.
Woo!
Yeah! Woo! All right, I'll let you go first.
Screw it. Warcraft 2, Warcraft 3,
Because I have the numbers for these. I have the numbers.
I don't have the numbers.
All
so
right,
bring that up.
I got numbers, man. All right.
But like when a game like this gets an expansion, it's happy. Everyone enjoys it because it's a while down the line. It adds a ton to the game, and it's just adding life to the game.
Okay, so Tides of Darkness got an expansion 4 months after release. Tides of Darkness wasn't a predominantly multiplayer game, so they weren't fundamentally breaking the experience that was Tides of Darkness. You were getting a new single-player campaign, and you were getting like a couple heroes and like maybe more custom map options. Like that's all you were really getting when you bought Beyond the Dark Portal, okay? You also got a fantastic disco song that I liked earlier this week on YouTube. You guys should go check it out. It was on the CD. All right. When StarCraft, which was a predominantly multiplayer game, got an expansion, it took 8 months. So there was actually some time to enjoy the vanilla experience and have an experience before Blizzard, the evilest of all companies, actually asked you to fork over more money along with all of your bros so you could all play the game and have the new updated balance system and all of those updated things. My issue with Battlefield 4 is we're talking like a month and change.
Out of the gate.
Out of the
like
gate.
So many planned already.
So they have made their $60 game a $70 game if you want to be playing for more than like a couple months with all of the content. And then they've turned it into a $110 game if you want to own what would typically be a 1 expansion pack or 2 expansion pack release cycle in the past, if you want to own the 5 expansion packs that they already have listed. I mean, to me, that's a problem. The fact that all the expansion packs are here, like now.
Yeah.
It's like, here's all the plan for all the stuff that we want you to all buy. So maybe this is all just uneducated hate from me, and Battlefield 4 fans are ripping me apart.
So someone brought up Battlefield 3 released premium a while after.
Okay, someone brought up that Second Assault is getting redesigned maps. Okay, so fine. I still maintain that they were probably done if they're being released now.
They're saying 4, really? I read 4 maps that were in Battlefield 3. But either way, I haven't looked too far into it because I just was like, oh, I hate DLC. Moving on. So that's probably part of it. And like one of my favorite companies has been actually kind of known to be one of the worst for this, although they've kind of fixed it, was Bethesda when they released Horse Armor. That was hilarious and stupid, and that should not have
But at least it didn't alter the gameplay in any way, and it wasn't going to make... in
any way. At all.
Like, the game worked. If you bought the game, you had the whole game and all of the mods and all of the blah, 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 all of that stuff forever. And you didn't pay $110 for it. So I'm going to give Bethesda a pass because I have no problem with Horse Armor that doesn't do anything as long as people understand it doesn't do anything. Forum badges on LinusTechTips forum don't do anything. But we were upfront about that. We said, look, this is a way you can support us. I'm okay with that. I mean, I hopefully am because we did it.
I was like, that's probably a good thing.
Let's hope I'm okay with that. Speaking of which, we are going to have another fundraiser campaign. First Blood was amazingly successful, and we are so thankful to everyone who contributed to it. We have a plan. We are looking at a pretty significant website upgrade for LinusTechTips.com and a pretty significant equipment upgrade for some... Oh, yeah, Diesel sent it out. Yeah, I know, whatever. We just have to make sure it's as good or better now. No pressure.
We don't know if it's possible.
So anyway, so we're planning an upgraded website. Don't worry, it's still going to be a forum first and foremost, and a lot of the front page content will be tied into the forum. That will be his job, and he will do a great job of it, and it will be timely.
It's possible.
Anyway, moving on. We are also planning an equipment upgrade that is going to allow us to bring you guys a daily show. The issue is that with all the technical difficulties that we only own one proper camera right now. So we need... and one microphone. And one stand, one mic stand, and like a couple lights. Like we actually have one set of everything. And in order to have a daily show and have no technical difficulties so that we can basically prep it and sit down and shoot it and bring it to you guys on the Tech Quickie channel, we are going to need another set of gear that basically lives on the new set. So we are going to be doing a campaign to help us fund those upgrades. So that's going to be coming soon. And speaking of campaigns and... Stop. Oh, yeah, okay, hold on. No, I don't want to play it on there anyway, actually. I want to play it here. Speaking of campaigns, back to Battlefield 4. It has a campaign. I heard it ain't that great, but this is nothing to do with the campaign. I was just looking for a segue, and it did not happen. So, where'd it go? Where's my segue? Here we go. This, in my mind, is the worst thing that DICE, and EA, and whoever was involved in this terrible decision could have possibly done. Really?
Rated M for
Really? You had an opportunity, and I mean, I'm not the biggest feminism activist in the world by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think I talk about this a whole lot on the show, but you guys had an opportunity to be progressive here.
The game had a female character in it that was really good.
This was an innovation. It was a way to set yourselves apart from the depiction of females and the way that other companies are doing it, the depiction of females in the military. You had an opportunity to be above this.
She was like one of the better characters.
And you partnered with Axe to create an ad that's like, if you wear Axe, chicks will get out of tanks, they will meet you in the middle of a bridge with destructible buildings falling down behind you, and they will be into you. Are you kidding me?
Like, what? And I'm wondering who spent the time to painstakingly script in Hannah, the girl that's in the single-player campaign, and like make all of her writing good and make it so that all the guy gamers would accept her and she could still be a good female proponent without being a sex symbol and all this kind of stuff. I wonder how upset they were when they were not consoled at all and they just probably randomly saw this ad through a news site and had no idea it happened.
Like, unbelievable. Now, they must have known it was coming. I'm sure they were upset about it. But like, all the brownie points that you scored by being progressive, done. You're so done. All right, speaking of things that are done, Google speaks out, or a couple of Google employees to be clear. So blah, 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 the opinions represented, blah, 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 are not, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so all those disclaimers. So there's a couple Google employees who are speaking out. This is an article on The Verge, by the way, against the NSA. So Brandon Downey and Mike Hearn have posted the old FU to Google because of something that Google's been, or to Google, pardon me, to the NSA.
Oh.
Because of something the NSA's been doing, which is on Google's private fiber links, okay? The NSA, so where they actually transmit data between their data centers, mostly for backup, okay? In an unencrypted form, the NSA has been pulling data. Really, NSA? So Google has, between these two guys, they've been talking about some of the things that how outraged they are that the NSA is just taking data from Google that they have not asked for. So for one thing, and they've talked about how they're putting solutions in place as a big FU to encrypt that data even when it's moving in between Google's own servers on their own secure networks, because just the outrage. And I think there's not really much more for us to say beyond that, and that this NSA thing is getting a little bit out of hand here.
It's getting a little bit nuts. And one of the things that I brought up is like when we all sign our souls away signing up for a Gmail account or whatever.
Yeah, because Google sells all your personal information too. Don't be real clear about that.
But they usually sell it like anonymously. They'll
Yes.
sell your data but without a name or something like that. And when the NSA takes it, it's not anonymous. It's very attached and very utilized. And it's, yeah.
So this was information that all came out. It was the scandal comes from a little internal NSA diagram of like, here's how the sneaky way we're going to steal the data. That was part of.
And then the little smiley face.
And then the little smiley face. Yeah. Oh man! So not only are they stealing the data, they're being snarky and like.
Yeah.
Sneaky about it internally. No one's happy with you, NSA. All right. On to more good news. This looks amazing.
This is freaking awesome.
So this was posted by Orphis on the forum. It's a Fudzilla.com article, and they're claiming that the Nvidia Terga Note 7 is coming out November 12th. So that would be in 4 days, which I will have one heck of a conversation to have with Nvidia if we're not seated one of these. Just like we weren't with Shield on time.
Yeah, seriously.
Because they said they were going to deal with that.
We're not going to get one on time.
It's kind of starting.
Monday's a holiday.
If that date, mind you, they might announce it that day, and then because Shield was announced and stuff before review samples were shipped out and before it was released and all that. But anyway. So spec wise, we're looking at a 7-inch 1280 by 800 IPS screen, which I'm okay with.
It's IPS. I like that.
Yep, for IPS, IPS is good, particularly from a gaming perspective. At that size, I don't notice it that much. It's only really text where 1080p would make a difference to me at that size. 1.8 gigahertz Tegra 4 processor. Boom! Only 1 gig of RAM, so they aren't the best specs ever. It has 2.4 gigahertz, 802.11, and 16 gigs of storage, micro SD slot, 4100 milliamp hour battery, and based on what great battery life Shield gets with the Tegra 4 and similar specs, it's going to have a pretty beastly battery life. Micro HDMI out, 5 megapixel rear camera, and it supports Game Stream.
Which makes that micro HDMI out super important and
that's
not a small
cool.
thing to roll over.
Not a small deal. So supports GameStream, according to the rumors, which we haven't heard anything about it, supports GameStream and is $199.99. So guys, GameStream. I've been talking, I mean, it's happened sooner than I thought, but to me, consoles are already a thing of the past, because if for $199, I can have something that's a tablet, and it's my console, and I can use my already beefy, I don't know what I was trying to say there, and I can use my powerful PC to drive games at 720p or 1080p with a wired internet connection, or Ethernet connection, I can't say anything right today. So if I can drive 1080p games on my TV, that'll actually be a better experience than what PS4 or Xbox One can deliver out of the gate, assuming you already also own a PC, and many gamers are gamers. They're not PC gamers or Xbox gamers or PlayStation 4. They're gamers. They own consoles. They own gaming PCs. They want to appreciate everything that's available on all of the platforms. And obviously, this won't give you access to the exclusive content that's available for consoles, but it's a way to at least have the couch gaming experience with things like racing games and use the power of your PC to do it.
And one of the things with Shield is if I wanted to play an Android game, a tablet-style Surface is probably fine because they're all designed for it. And if I wanted to play a PC game, if I was going to play with a controller, the mobile thing isn't super attractive to me. Like, it's pretty cool, but I probably just want to play on the couch anyways. And with this, it supports attaching wireless controllers to it, or wired if you wanted to.
Yep.
So I can just hook it up to the TV. So I find this to be a much more attractive device than Shield. For
And
me personally.
Nvidia is even doing certifications of controllers. They're calling them sufficiently low latency, and they're certifying them, and they're putting them on NVIDIA.com.
Awesome. That's
So
really cool.
you will even be able to pick up a controller that you know will deliver a great gaming experience.
Sweet.
With your tablet or your Shield.
I didn't know about that. It's
So
awesome.
this is an article on PC Per. So The Verge is the original source, but Valve Steam Machine and Steam Controller, the reference designs are shown off, and I thought this was fake because I was like, it looks like it was made by like a Portal fan or something.
Which it might have been.
Valve apparently is not actually going to sell the reference Steam Machine.
Yeah, I had no idea. I thought they were.
So they're going to seed them out, but that's it. They're not actually going to sell them. However, they're
releasing the CAD files, so anyone could make one.
And
if
I
you
hope
have
someone
the
does.
ability.
I'd love to see someone like EVGA release a reference, because they're so good at just taking a great reference design and gussying it up and marketing it well and making it competitive and having it available everywhere. I'd love to see EVGA do it. There. If anyone from EVGA is watching, I want to see a reference Steam Machine powered by your graphics cards. That's awesome.
I also want to see people just make their own. If the CAD files are freely available.
Yeah, 3D printing. Dun dun dun.
That's what I was actually most excited for. Of course, a board partner making it would be
You
great,
heard about
but-
that first metal 3D printed gun, right?
Well, you have to have a $500,000 plus machine to be able to make it. And
Okay.
you have to have all this stuff behind it too.
Sure, but it's the beginning of...
Oh, of course. And there
the
will be cheaper
trickle-down
ones.
effect in terms of price.
And it would the process for it will get better.
And
blah, blah, blah.
$500,000 to a criminal organization is not necessarily too much money.
Not necessarily for unmarked guns. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a thing to think about.
Yeah. No, I know. It's just
Anyway.
it's not a lot of people are jumping on it, going like, "Oh my God, anyone can make a gun."
Well,
It's
no.
like, well, not really.
That's not quite a thing.
Gonna have to like sell your house.
All right, so maybe we'll do some rapid fire stories. I know we missed a couple things, but we've run significantly overtime here, so
I knew this week was gonna be nuts. The WAN show doc this week was insane.
so many great topics. I mean,
November's here, everyone.
all right, so here's some positive PR for AMD. I think this has been a very AMD positive stream overall. 99VW posted on the forum. This is a Reddit. Reddit is the original source. So some guy's neighbor was cleaning his gun and accidentally discharged it. It ruined the guy's PC. He posted on Reddit. He was contacted, so you can actually see what AMD's PR department said here if you can read this on the stream. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, whatever.
we're gonna it'll be in the doc which we link on the forum.
Yeah,
So
there you go. Maybe you can read it like this. Anyway,
this is ridiculous.
AMD contacts the guy, gives him a new PC.
Essentially, like 4 components that
Yeah.
revitalized it.
Like, fixes his PC. They didn't fix the case, but I'm cool
I
with that.
like that. Yeah, there's a bullet hole in your case. Like, how sweet is that? And it's not like that sticker bullet hole. It's it got shot. Like, that's pretty cool.
I think that's pretty beast mode right there. All right, so next up we've got, it saved my zoom setting. Blah, okay.
Okay, you win.
LG's G Flex, which sounds a lot more gangster than it is.
G-Flex.
G Flex. It's like the phone for like drug dealers. It's Like, I'm sure LG won't put that in
You
the
can have like
marketing.
8 different numbers on one SIM card or something.
Speaking of which, guys, if you have a moment, maybe tweet at LG's USA Twitter handle, because that ad that we showed you like a month ago or whatever, where the deal was we wanted a review unit of the G2 and we were going to show you that ad. Their PR firm, so it's not actually necessarily LG's fault, to be clear. They may not even know this happened, but their PR firm contacted me again and said, we need you to show 2 more of them. And I kind of said, well, no, because the deal was we showed 1 and then we got a review unit. So maybe just kind of let them know we could probably use a review unit of the G2 at some point here. All right, so the upcoming G Flex has a curved screen and a very noticeable arc. So let's go ahead to Engadget's video here.
Should I go grab my phone? I don't
Yeah,
know where it is.
actually, no, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
So they showed how you can take this curved phone and you can actually flex it out to the point where it is. Oh, I should probably mute that. Shoot, sorry guys. So you can flex it to the point where it's pretty much straight. So as you can see, they take it here and bend it over the table like that. You know, I had to do that. You know, I think this was not news. So as much as we talked about it, maybe it was just an excuse to get you guys to tell LG we need a G2. We could use a G Flex too while we're at it. I wouldn't mind seeing what the curved screen experience is like. But I've seen Galaxy S3s and S4s flex that much. It's like how to turn your S4 into a curved screen smartphone.
I torqued mine, and with how much pressure he was putting on that, I think it flexed easier, but my phone, while it probably wasn't good for it, can flex quite a bit.
All right, next up is AMD will be selling Intel-based servers.
I don't think this is that big of a deal.
Nice Hat, I think it's just ironic.
Yeah.
Nice Hat posted this on the forum. So AMD recently won a contract to supply Verizon with servers. So Verizon wants to get into the whole cloud thing. And it was through an acquisition that AMD made last year of SeaMicro. The only issue, so SeaMicro is a server maker, and they have these extremely compact, high-density servers that they are selling to companies like Verizon. They look really cool. I mean, here, look at this thing, guys. It has an LGA 2011 socket, 2 SODIMM memory slots, a chipset, what looks like some other complicated communication bridges here, and then it has a proprietary interface that actually looks like 2 PCI Express 16X interfaces. Really, really cool looking board. And look how big it is. I mean, that's a CPU.
It's small.
Very, very small. So very cool technology. Unfortunately, 3/4 of the servers that Verizon's ordering are Intel-based. So AMD will still be making money on the transactions as a middleman, so to speak, but they have to sell Intel-based servers. Over time, they'll be able to phase out those models and implement AMD models and all that.
It's not really that big of a deal. It's just kind of funny.
Steve Jobs' childhood is now a landmark.
Oh my god.
Childhood, did I say childhood? I said his childhood's a landmark, because that's not what I meant to say. Childhood home is now a landmark, and I also think that I clicked on the wrong link. I am not having a good day.
His childhood is a landmark.
Okay, it is now an historic resource. So this was posted by SnickerZ, and this was a post on Techno Buffalo. Guys, if you haven't seen the WAN show from last week, go watch it. John Lakers was one of the best guests we've ever had.
He was awesome.
Even just go back and watch the archive of the segment with him. We had some great conversation. Anyway, Techno Buffalo is John's site. So the house where Steve Jobs grew up is now an historic resource, blah, 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 the one-style ranch, etc., etc., etc. All right.
My comment was, I wonder if there's any acid tabs left.
Patricia, okay, get this. Patricia Jobs
That's hilarious.
still lives in the house, and the historic designation will make it more complicated if she wants to renovate the house in the future.
Basically meaning she can't.
The commission was not required to get her approval before moving forward with the vote.
And it not only was it not required, it didn't bother. Just, yep, doesn't matter.
I mean, I'm sure she's honored and all that, but seriously? Like, seriously?
It's kind of brutal.
People suck at passwords. This was a post on XKCD, which is an amazing webcomic.
Well, the post was on our forum.
The post was on our forum, posted by Cuddlesworth9419. Okay.
Saying that 1.9 million people that use
credited it to? Oh no, XKCD did the math, right? Sorry. I think.
No.
Wait, what did they do? Did I read it wrong? Okay,
you totally read it wrong. Okay, so there was a post on Technics about how 1.9 million people used 123456 as their password for Adobe, because Adobe recently got hacked and they figured out everyone's
So I had to
passwords and
change my
whatnot.
password and all that for Creative Cloud.
Yeah, so 1.9 million people suck at passwords, and then unrelated, if you go to XKCD's post,
Sorry, I
It's okay.
misread this.
this was my addition to it. Is like if for you and your friends and your parents and anyone else who ever has to set a password, so everyone, they should probably read this post by XKCD, which covers how people should be making passwords so they don't end up being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because that's ridiculous. People make those kind of passwords because passwords are hard to come up with and they're hard to remember. But if you come up with 4 random things that are the first things that come to your head, it's probably a really strong password and probably really easy to
The
remember.
only issue I have with this is the number of sites that have requirements that are like, well, you must have this and you must have that. But this is, guys, if you aren't familiar, if you haven't been on the internet ever before in your life and you're not familiar with XKCD,
It's amazing.
awesome. XKCD.com. It claims to be about math and romance, but it's actually just hilarious for anyone, even if you don't have a girlfriend and you don't know any math. And not that I'm saying anyone who's watching our show on Friday night doesn't have a girlfriend. I mean, you probably do. Quick Twitter blitz. Who here has a girlfriend? Actually, it's probably best if we don't talk about this. All right, moving right along. And he offended his entire viewer base. This is exactly what Steve Dotto was talking about.
I didn't put a title on that one. World's first 3D gun?
printed metal gun. No, I think I'm pretty much done. Let's just do this last thing. So we're planning to head over to Best Buy or Future Shop at some point this weekend because this will only be applicable for Canadians, but this is like the stupidest promo that I've ever seen. The new Call of Duty, the new Assassin's Creed, and the new Battlefield titles are all available for a straight trade-in of any last-gen console game.
It's only in Canada and it's only in certain locations.
Yes, okay? But that is any Xbox 360, PS3, or Wii U game. Because they classify Wii U as a last-gen console, apparently.
Do they really? I didn't read that part. That's hilarious.
Wii games don't count. Wii U games count. Yeah. So you can only do
man.
one at a time, okay? But you can go in each day to a different store and you can exchange 3 games for all 3 of the new games, and it can be like, Battle Mash Cupcake 2000 or whatever. It doesn't matter. You can bring in any game you want and you will get one of those games. And they're trying to drive awareness of their games trade-in program because not everyone thinks of Best Buy Future Shop when they think of trading in games.
Not everyone thinks of Best Buy Future Shop.
That isn't a very nice thing to say about someone who's going to give you a free game tomorrow.
I will take it. It doesn't mean I have to like them.
You'll take it, but you won't have to like it.
I walked into that one. That was bad.
You walked in backwards.
Oh, wow. That
Okay.
wasn't even good.
I know, that was just crude. All right, we're clearly getting close to the end of the show. How about build logs of the week or something? Here, take my laptop. I shouldn't be operating any equipment. This is obviously the case.
Linus, you're home. Go drunk.
I know, right? I'm just going to sit here and be sad for the rest of the stream. Oh, wait, you can't even do it on there because of PowerPoint.
But
Do I even have
thought you
PowerPoint?
got PowerPoint on here.
Yes, I do. I do have it now. Okay.
Okay. You've had it for like months.
Well, define months.
2 months?
Oh, no, it doesn't work, though, because it came with a trial version, and I installed an older version over top of it. So, it takes forever to launch. Okay, no. I'll pull up the build logs of the week over
Okay.
here. I'll operate all the machinery. Don't worry, everything will be okay. This is why I love this show. Anything can happen.
The first one has a very actually, they both have. Yeah, never mind. They both have completely ridiculous, really interesting cases.
I think I set this up last week, just as like a, okay, all the problems.
Nope, not set up.
Nope, not set up. Okay, so we're going to add a screen region here. I'm just going to do it this way. This might be a little bit easier
That might
for us
work,
anyway.
actually. That
Yeah.
would be totally fine.
Okay, don't worry, I'll fix that.
Yeah, nope, that's fine.
All the brokenness.
Yep.
There we go. Build logs.
Why am I still there?
Go. No, don't worry. It's okay.
Okay, so, next.
Or wait. Yeah, no, you're... Oh, what the heck?
Why am I still there?
Okay. Okay, well, whatever. You're the only one talking anyway. Scooch over. There. It's the Slick Show.
Okay, wow. Jump into the thing, so we go to the next slide.
Oh, you want me to go to the next slide?
Yes.
Hey, it's Mick Lavin.
What is so hard. Okay. Case, Fantex Enthoo Series Primo. That's like the first thing I really want to point out, because when you see that picture, that thing looks amazing.
Yeah, we have an unboxing coming when I get around to doing it.
Oh, nice.
And I saw one in person today at the NCIX studio. It's kind of nice.
Fantex been doing some really cool stuff. Anyways, you can see all the specs there, and we're gonna move on to just some of the absolutely beautiful pictures that are in
That cable and tubing management, holy cow!
Yeah.
And these Velcros are built in.
Yep.
That's awesome.
That's so cool. And I love how they're actually everywhere. Like Corsair did that, where they're up the one side for the 24 pin.
Yes.
But they're all over the place, which is sweet.
That's really cool. And the amount of cable management space back here, you don't even need a modular power supply, and this thing's going to look amazing, because you could put like another power supply in there.
Yeah. It's just sick.
Here's some close-up shots.
The guy's, oh man, it's just beautiful. The way he did all the colors, how it all goes in together. And a lot of times we get build logs on here where people use perfectly straight tubing everywhere. That is a style, but I don't think it's required. And I think this guy did curved tubing in a really good way.
Yep, and you know what? I like seeing builds where, you know what? Look, there's a wire here.
Yeah.
Deal with it, because
Yeah.
I actually hooked up the rig.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that people will often criticize about my machine is like, well, there's still a lot of wires visible. And I kind of go, well, yeah, I have like a
lot of
RAID card
things.
with 8 SSDs, and I have the fact that you see as few wires as you do is nothing short of a miracle, because I actually have my front panel connectors hooked up and all this stuff. So
I'm hoping when mine's done, I'll have a capture card, a sound card, a RAID card, and 2 graphics cards.
you may not need a capture card if Shadow
Might
Play.
not if Shadow Play works out, but
Yeah.
we'll see. But like, that's going to be all the cables everywhere.
Yeah.
Like.
All right.
Next
Vector
one,
Custom.
Another crazy weird case. So Vector Custom have been making PC table things.
I thought about buying this, but it's like $3,500 or something, right? Or like $4,500.
I don't remember how much
This
it
is the commercially available one, though,
Yeah.
right? I think they only produced like 30 of them or something
Not
stupid.
very many.
And I was like, oh, because it's real nice.
They're pretty freaking sweet, and it saves you like making these desk computers. The build logs are really long because they're really hard.
Yeah.
They're really hard to make. So it's interesting how you can just buy one, but they're still like like I just said, you can just buy one, but like you still have to do all that to it. Like it's it's not exactly ready to go.
Yeah,
so
plug
there's
and
still
play.
Not so much. So absolutely beautiful computer. I love what the guy did with it. It looks great.
Look at that, man.
So clean.
So again, curved tubing. You're going on a bit of a curved tubing thing. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Dave saved my butt with this build log. But yes. I don't know. I like both of them. It doesn't have to be straight tubes. If it's done properly, curved tubes can still look really good.
Do you like my rig?
Yes.
Have you seen the finished one?
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not super stoked with mine, which is why no one gets to see it.
Yeah, a lot of
But-
people have been asking to see Slick's rig for a long time. I should totally sneak into his room and like vlog it for you guys. Let me know. Let me know on the Twitch chat. I'm
What-
taking my computer back.
If you do happen to
if
do
you
it,
want me to do that.
I don't want you to do that. So should I just take the laptop back?
Well, I think
Oh, you were
I
saying
think I
to
already
the-
know the answer that they're gonna give me anyway.
Don't.
They're gonna be like, do it.
I'm gonna like weld metal panels onto it so you can't see it.
Weld metal panels.
I'm gonna
That'll
put
just be cooler.
I'm gonna
I'll just show
actually-
them the wet metal panels.
I'll,
You're gonna have to weld your door shut, is what you're gonna have to do.
That's what I mean. Oh, that door. Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, forget it. You're done. You're done.
The back isn't cable managed, and the cables go like this far out of the back. Because
Yeah.
everything's just hanging.
And the cable management on his case is not that easy to deal
It's
with.
not good, and there's not, no.
So guys, before we end the stream here, I know I always thank you guys for watching, but I am particularly thankful to you guys for watching today. Normally at the end of the show, we have around 4,000 to 5,000 viewers. So we're on the low side today. We're sitting at around 4,000 viewers.
There's
but
WCS.
the thing that floors me, and you just took away the punchline, thank you for that.
Well, you're gonna ruin my rig,
That's true. I'm not going to ruin it. I'm just going to show people the ruined state that it's already in.
which ruins it.
Which
When people ask me what the specs are, I'm like 2600K 660 Ti.
So guys, thank you so much for tuning into the show in spite of the fact that there are lots of important things to watch on Twitch right now. We appreciate your support so much. It means a lot to us. And I think that was it. That was all I wanted to say. Because a lot of the time, I know there isn't necessarily anything else to watch. But today there is, and you guys watched us anyway. We really appreciate it.
That's very cool. Archive's going up like normal, and there will be an after party with giveaways. It's coming. Sorry about my tweet earlier. Didn't change the title.
It's peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly time. Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Where you at?
I knew you were gonna get to that part, and I knew I was gonna
There you
fail.
go. There you go. Peanut butter.